and lichess if you prefer. But I don't like lies. So I call it lichess. We'll leave lichess for Donald Trump. Anyway, lichess and Twitch. Welcome everyone. Alright, gotta get into political jokes. What's up? So, Asterbait, Mr. Coffee, Mr. Coffee, Cooking Rooks, Spectacular Camel, our assistant for the Thursday night streams. Snuggles the Snail is here. Good to see you, Snuggles the Snail, with your pancake frog. Frog cake emote. Welcome everybody. I'm always a little bit late here on Thursdays. Sorry about that. Had to get the stream started, sort my hair, put on the makeup, get in the hot tub, whatever, get my bikini on. Seriously, now. Real Twitch streamers. Let's get it on. What do we got? So game analysis for tonight, it's 9 games at the moment. I think we've got 9 games or 10. Let me see what the list is up to. 9 games. Trip Chance, Asterbait, Mr. Slow, Gibades, Morales, Move 11, JNS, Princess Chess, and Tezake. I saw you tried just chatting yesterday, at least for a moment. Yeah, it was. I also left it on longer than I intended. It probably hurt my numbers at some point because I think what you said applied, Mr. Coffee. When I switched to just chatting, lichess stopped listing me, which is really lame. I mean, that's totally, like, I called it, I mean, come on, I'm advertising lichess already by just putting lichess in my title and streaming on lichess. Does my category have to be chess? That's lame. I don't think so. You know, if they watch my stream and I'm not doing chess for however long, that's sort of stupid, but whatever. So it didn't work. It appears I lose the lichess link when I change it from chess to just chatting. Wednesdays are a disaster. I don't understand why. I guess it's like a Title Tuesday after effect. So a lot of people stream on Tuesdays, and my new theory is that Wednesday morning, nobody wants to watch chess streams because they watch chess streams all Tuesday night or something like that. But it's every single week, very consistent that Wednesdays are like less viewers. We can always hire some fake viewers from cheese.com. Alright, but anyway, I don't care. I'm not about the viewers. I just love chess and I want to promote the game and do the right thing. So, I love you guys. We've got 9 games so far. There is room for one more. Perhaps the next subscriber to submit a game will be number 10. So this is the first game. How do I analyze my own games? Wow. You know what, Mr. Trip Chance? I called you Mr. Trip Chance. Cooking Rooks. Before you analyze your own games, you should probably get a book that you can use as a role model. You know, you need to, before you can analyze your own games, you need to see how to analyze your own games. So you need an example. My favorite players are like, from the standpoint of analyzing their own games. For example, I don't know. Maybe let's pick a game, pick a player. Like Botvinnik is very heavily influential on me. So if you take a player like Botvinnik and you take 100 selected games from Botvinnik as an example, you know, he's not like Robert Hubner, where he did 27 pages of analysis on one game. It doesn't have to be like that, you know. Some variations, I think that's a good example, you know. The way that Botvinnik analyzed his games in 100 selected games, it's not overdoing it. It's not like reams of analysis. Ideas, some variations. You know, if you have an example like that, I think that's enough. Maybe not as in-depth as that, but, you know, 1 page per game or something, could do that. I realize you're not a master level player, but It's a good example. Bronstein. Bronstein is cool too. You have to take more time with descriptive notation. That's an interesting question. 100 selected games. I'm surprised that it's never been published in algebraic. You have the Nottingham tournament analyzed by Alexander Alyakin. Alyakin's another good example. Light annotations. He's famously given a lot of hard time for kind of not objective analysis, maybe. Sometimes he exaggerates or lies, supposedly. But these kind of game collections are excellent examples. Okay, we're going to start with Dr. Tripchance's game against Kenzo. I hope this is more serious than his other submissions. Alright. E4, G5. So much for that theory. But it is a strong player. So Dr. Tripchance analyzing a game against the Macho Grob. No, the Borg. That's right, it's the Borg. What is the Macho Grob? So at least it's a strong player, 2271. It's a fast game though, 3.0. White plays d4. Always establish a strong center. Hitting g5. If you play the Grob reversed, there's a line like this, like g4, d5, bishop g2, c6. I feel like, yeah, c4. I feel like I lost to somebody. But imagine you're playing black now. Man, somebody played this against Coolouts in 2015. Alright. E4, G5. With colors reversed, it's really bad. I don't think that black can play bishop G7. Wow. Take the pawn? Maybe. So bishop G5. C5 reversed. Concept. Man, there's a Grandmaster game. Nikolai Vlasov. A 2200 named Yulia Mashinskaya beats a GM. Isn't that an old Soviet Grandmaster, Nikolai Vlasov? Throwing games to the beautiful young ladies here. I don't know, man. What kind of Grandmaster plays this opening for real and loses to a 2205? That's kind of sus. I don't know, man. Anyways. D4, H6. Knight C3, Bishop G7. Yeah, black had to play H6 to defend G5. That's not sound. B. Maximus, welcome. Yulia, yeah. Of course. It is very common. Alright. So H4 now makes a lot of sense. Nikita. Yeah, Nikita is a boy's name. They always messed everyone up, that movie with La Femme Nikita or whatever. That's what makes everybody think that it's a girl's name. That's a French movie, right? Who knows? But Bishop G7, H4. Can be both. So it's reminding me of the King's Gambit or something somehow. I'm just waiting for F4. Boom. It's not that common of a name. Anyway, we're talking about chess now. H4. Patrick Wolf. The very young Patrick Wolf, 1985. Wasn't it a movie, Mr. Coffee? Or was that a TV series? I'm not familiar. I just know the name. I thought it was a movie. Every good movie's been made into a... Every bad movie's been made into a TV series. So H4 is a strong move. Let me turn off the engine, though. Sam Collins against Simon Kim Williams. Serious grandmaster there. He's playing G5 against Sam Collins. It's ridiculous. Man, that's insane. Alright. Bishop C4. Yeah, I like trying to break the pawn structure with H4 a little bit better. But I'm sure that Bishop C4 is okay. Now C5. I mean, there's no way that Black's position is okay. There's just no way that Black's position is okay here with that kingside damage. I mean, it's much worse than the Polish. Much, much worse than the Polish. The Polish is on the queen side. This like weakens your king side. F7 is weak. There's a huge square on F5, H5, C5, and now Dr. Chipchance plays D5, but I don't like having to do this. I liked our pressure on F7. So thus, I really do like this better. I've never taken this seriously, but I agree with Patrick Wolf. It's kind of like playing A4 against the Polish. Mr. G, no blitz today. We're just seriously analyzing subscriber games. So H4, if you want to come by for blitz tomorrow morning, I'm going to be streaming at 11 a.m. taking challenges. H4 though looks real good. I mean, what the heck is Black going to do here? Paddy was very strong. Quit chess, went into the financial sector after being a like second in the World Championship match against Kasparov. But I knew Patrick from Boston. Played blitz sometimes. H4, Bishop C4, C5, D5, closing this off. I feel like White didn't get the maximum from this position. Man, that sucks, Mr. G. Bank holiday. They should just give you the whole week off. Why make you go to school on Friday? Now, D6. See, the problem is we can't really take advantage of the F7 weakness. Now we just have to transfer. It's basically a Benoni. It's just a Benoni where Black has played G5, and objectively, it's still good for White, but a lot harder to break through. His bishop on G7 is very strong. I don't really like what's happened here. Like, we've lost some of our advantage. H3, okay. Not really necessary, though, you know? I mean, it seems like he really ought to have this H4 break available. So I would just play... I don't know what I would play. Maybe knight E2, going for knight G3. By the way, everybody, welcome to the stream. Please subscribe if you're not subscribed. Appreciate the support. H3, A6, A4. So now it's really a Benoni. It's just where Black played G5 in the Benoni. Move 11, just subscribe to Tier 1. Ask and ye shall receive. Move 11 not only subscribe, but he's the only gift subber this week. Sub-gifter. Is it a sub-gifter or gift subber? I guess if you're actually the subscriber who got gifted, you're a gift subber. But if you're the person who gifted the sub, you're the sub-gifter. Cooking Rooks just gifted 5 Tier 1 subs to the community. So Mr. G just became a subscriber. On Margate Sands, who was very interactive with the stream this week. Daily Insanity. KQRP and Jaspovich. We'll have to ask Dr. Seuss. Dr. Seuss isn't like banned or something by cancel culture. Dr. Seuss got banned. No, just some of his books. Actually, there's a misinterpretation of that. Some of the right wing got offended when Dr. Seuss's books got taken off the shelves, but it turns out it was Dr. Seuss's estate, like his own family, that willingly took his books out of publication. Astrobate, welcome. 1,000 bits. 1,000 bits from Masterby. Thank you guys for supporting the stream. So, I don't know. White's better despite the way he played this, but I don't think he played this right. It's just like a weird Benoni now. The old attack, the strong point. And Astrobate, what about the C5 square? I'm a big fan of Dr. Seuss too. But there was some racism in the art and stuff like that. Bishop takes f4, knight f6, knight f3, knight on bd7, queen e2, h5. Man, this is caving in now. If black can't hold the e5 square, it's all gone. That's the one key point. We cannot lose that square. This knight is the problem. So, whatever you do, I don't know what to suggest. I guess the Grob just isn't good. Mr. Slowhand, thanks for donation. Well, I think racism toward blacks, mostly, was very typical in that period. More than anything. Knight on bd7, queen e2, h5, e5, bang, and then black's just cooked. But I like Dr. Seuss. Mr. Move 11 brought it up. I'm trying to stay on the subject. D takes e5, knight takes e5, knight takes e5, bishop takes e5. White controls the e5 square, white controls d5, white controls e4. d4 is a coin flip. The whole center is completely over for black. But it's interesting that he didn't even play the opening that well, and black still cooked. Castle's queenside is nutty. Castle's queenside is just like showing off, just to be a smart ass. Hype train on the way on a Thursday. I don't think they have trains scheduled for Thursdays. WJ Loop just donated 500 Pride flags. Thank you guys. Very, very big support. Mr. Slow, WJ Loop with 500. Mr. Cooking Rooks, the artist formerly known as Boy 40 something. Don't want to give away your age. Was that what it was about? Alright, can't be that old. Boy 49. I didn't think so. You're getting close to my age. Castles, queenside. I mean, my king is always going to castle on the king side here. But he was concerned about d5, but I don't think that's a problem. Mr. Coffee with 300 bits. Move 11 with 100 bits. Is there a hype train in town? Oh, we do have a hype train. Dude, the hype train is here 100%. Hype train, level 2. I didn't even see the train coming. I'm going to get run over. I always say, like, you know, crossing the street is a very dangerous thing. Hype train level 2. Sub gift or use bits to get to the next level. 2% achieved. We have 4 minutes 29 seconds. If you're not careful, you could get run over very easily. Move 11 just gifted 5 subs community. Tranquilizer, GM Tranquilizer, Fake Grandmaster, Mona, Cloudy WR, Armut, and Prem K666, who might appreciate it more than anyone there. Spectacular Camel, thank you guys for the support. We're on Hype Train level 2. Up to 30 for 35% after Mr. Move 11's generous donation. So thanks to all of you for subscribing, watching, supporting the stream. You're more than twice, really? I'm getting there. I just want to turn on the engine. I don't think the Castle's Queenside is White's best move here. I mean, I understand it, but I'm afraid of b5. I really don't want to give the opponent any counterplay when I have a winning position. Even this is strong, right? I mean, black can disappear into the woods with castles kingside. It's not too late. I still feel very strangely about castling queenside here. Yeah. So rook d1 is a controlled compromise. That I might play, but I'm not castling queenside. That's like castling queenside in the London system. Nick19, I'm not taking challenges today. We're analyzing subscriber games. Thank you for the challenge, though. Alright, so, agreed. The engine agrees with me. Castle queenside's kind of nutty. He castles queenside. Queen d7, d6, and then black castle queenside. Interesting. a6 is hanging. For one thing, I mean, that's just clear pawn up with an exposed king. I like it. Dr. Chipchance instead takes here. Queen takes. Then he takes on a6. Rook e8. What about this b6 pawn? Is that vulnerable to attack? So I get it. Like, it looks like Dr. Chipchance came up with a real weird computer theme here with Queen f3. Astrobaites gifting 5 tier 1 subs, dude. It went to Walking Death, Mr. Swift Tickle, Vasham Chess. I haven't seen Vasham Chess in a long time. Steamboat and Title Untitled. 68% hype train. We've got 1 minute and 37 seconds left for level 3. What a move by this guy. He's threatening the deadly Queen c6. That's just nasty. King's Gambit 21. Welcome. This is a beautiful mate threat. Unfortunately, black saw it and played this. No doubt, like, black's dropping material here. Just dropped a piece. That was a really nice tactic, though. Just a matter of technique now. He didn't play perfect moves, but this is a blitz game. It was a nice game. Mr. Sloan just donated 1978, his birth year. We're going to get to level 3. 30 seconds left, guys. We're at 99. 99%. Acerbate with 300. Move 11 pushed us over. That's got to push us over the edge. Another tier 1. We made it. Level 3. Hype. I got the cactus head. Cactus head. Alright. Cactus head it is. I'm glad they didn't take those things away permanently. I thought they were going to take it out. We got crazy donations from Move 11, Asterbait, Mr. Slow. My Twitch doesn't update, so I have to rely on Steam Labs to know what's going on. The overflow got us to Hype Train level 3, 4% with 4 minutes left. I'm going to finish up this game, though. This is over. White's just up a piece. Nothing to see here. Just look the other way. I want my choo-choo. Yeah, where's the choo-choo? It's not ready yet. You still got 4 minutes to wait. Sub-gift or use bits to get to the next level. We're on level 3. Cheer Whale from Mr. Slow to 1978. Mr. Slow, do you have a game in the list today? You do, right? Next up is Astrobate. Alright, enough from that game. We're on level 3, going for level 4. I don't think we're going to make it. But you guys were very generous to get us to level 3. 4% of level 4 achieved. Thank you so much. Yesterday was kind of slow. Wednesdays are a bad day for my streams. Thursdays, Sundays, Mondays, Fridays are pretty good. But for some reason, Wednesday is like poisonous. I think it's like a cheese.com post-title Tuesday hangover effect. But I never have any viewers on the Wednesday stream. Sadly. Thursdays, we're doing game analysis here, guys. I've got 9 games. There's still room for one more. Who started it? It was a team effort. Mr. Tranquilizer, GM Tranquilizer, you got a gift sub. Or maybe that was the real GM Tranquilizer. Who just got gift subbed? Was that the real GM Tranquilizer? Mr. Slow is claiming he's 72, but I don't believe him. You're born in 72. Yeah. You're telling the truth now. It was a good year. That was the year that Jesse Cry was born. And all those great chess players of his generation. Alright. Top juniors of the Jesse Cry generation. Someone else we know. But, anyways. Asterbate playing black. E4, C5, C3, G6. This is move 11's favorite variation. D4, C takes D4. Okay, CD4. He can also play, he can transpose to the idiot gambit. You can transpose to the Smith moron. You saw his name on one of my chess stuff? Jesse worked with me for chesslecture.com. I got him involved with chesslecture.com long ago when we were friends. I haven't seen him. I mean, he's still a friend, but I haven't seen him in years. I'm the one who was responsible for that, getting him involved with that. Bishop G7. He's my former chess roommate. All right. He divorced me for snoring. We were U.S. Championship roommates. He's a good guy. Anyway, D4, CD4, CD4, and now you're supposed to play D5, Asterbate. What grandmasters have refused to continue to stay with me for snoring? D5. Trivia. Snore trivia. Anyway, guys, is our hype train over? We got 41 seconds. The best was my friend Javier Moreno Carnero, who he tried sleeping next to the bed, in the bathroom, in a walk-in closet, and finally in the bathtub to escape from the wrath of Sladgie. Single-handedly ruining important tournaments of all my roommates. Anyway, the hype train is success. You received a level 2 hype train emote. Share. Such strong support. Level 2 completed. We got the choo-choo. 17 subs. 4,400 bits. Thanks to all of you. Now let's get down to business. Asterbate, you must play D5 in this position. You understand me? You have to fix the structure in the center. This is a very important move. Do you understand? From now on, you promise to play that. Really, not a lot of other good options. So, E5, not a good idea. This is maybe a worse mistake than not playing D5 for black, honestly. It's hard to believe that someone actually played that. A 2205? Where did he get his rating? At like Walmart? I don't know. I'll take Mr. Slow over this guy. You can't play E5 in this position. That's just 2205? What? He's 2205 from the correspondence. I think black might be better after E5. Let's see. Yeah. It's what I call undermining your own center. Voluntarily undermining your own center. You're doing the opponent's job for him after E5. Mr. Slow is like max lifetime 2100, 2150, and he would never play a move like E5. I'm just using you, Mr. Slow, as an example because I know. your peak rating was in the ballpark of this guy. For example, you would never play such a move. I can't believe someone actually played that. Knight c6, knight f3, d5. So, mistake. Not a bad move, but like a dubious, I think. Don't we want to punish him by breaking up his center? Stefano Tatai. Wow. So, legendary Italian master Stefano Tatai. I guess he's still alive. He was like close to GM. The Italians never had a grandmaster till like Godena in the early 90s. Shockingly. But I can't believe Tatai played f6. That's really nutty. It's sharp though. f6 is over the top. Like, you should definitely play d6. There's nothing to think about here. It's a no-brainer. d6 brings in the queen. White can't maintain e5 without playing bishop e5. I can't believe this is okay for white. There's no choo-choo? Wait. Are you sure? We got no choo-choo? What did Mr. 11 just... Mr. 11. I called you Mr. 11. What was that? You put a hype target. You got the target. Hype target. We got no choo-choo. I'm sorry, guys. We tried. Welcome everyone to the stream. So Stefano Tatai with f6. I recommend d6. What other option is there? There's Astrobai's other move, the third best option, which is d5, fixing the center. Move 11, does this transpose to a normal line? Or is it just me? This transposes to a standard variation. Bang. That's a very strange way to get into a standard position, Astrobait. But let's see, d6 is the best move. Yep. Wow, the move 11, like a6, is recommended. Theoretical novelty. I made Astrobait swear never to play a6. I agree. So Tatai's f6 looks kind of risky to me. Man, his opponent was a psychopath. Didn't take. They played like bishop d3. Dude, this was from 1966. I remember being at the World Open in like 1992. Around 93, where a very young Jorge Samor crushed Tatai. That was impressive. The guy was a strong player. Probably GM strength in his peak. I don't think he ever got the title. Never too late. f6. Okay, d5 here. a3. Very bad move by white. White's supposed to play h3, preventing bishop here, or bishop e5 with a pin of his own. Instead, white played a3, doing what? Preventing what? Knight b4? What does this do? Bishop g4. Good. Putting pressure on the d4 pawn. Excellent. Astrobait, very good. e6, correct. Take. Take. e7. And now white just like lost the ball completely. He lost it in the lights. Knight. Bishop g5, knight takes d4. Oh no. Horrible. Yeah. Just lost his focus with control of d4. Tatai became an IM 1966. You know, as I said, I don't think he ever got the GM title, but did Mariotti get the GM title? another player of that generation. I swear I don't think there were any Italian grandmasters until Godena in modern times. Knight on g to e7, bishop g5, knight takes d4, black is winning, queen d1, queen b6, unpinning, and black is winning. Astrobate, there is a slight danger of bishop e3 you might want to be aware of. So I hope you had something good in store for that. Bishop takes e5 might come in handy. There's also knight c6, so you're probably okay. Knight f5 is pretty weird, man. I think maybe you want to eat that pawn on e5 while the offer is still valid. That'll kind of overprotect your knight on d4 just in case of an accident. Knight f5 is awkward because that knight can be driven away by g4. Anyways. For example, g4. What do we do? Here you have bishop f6. Alright. Bishop f6 followed by knight h4. We're still totally winning. It's over. This guy is not in Astrobate's class. Crushing. Astrobate, this is the best hyper-accelerated dragon I think I've seen you play. Despite a very strange start. The other thing we've noticed, Astrobate is sort of becoming more solid and positional. There's been a sort of change in his style. Suddenly, he's become more solid and controlled. Maybe, I don't know, all these good chess players are rubbing off on him. So Mariotti became a grandmaster in 1974. Why do I always have the feeling like he wasn't the grandmaster? Wow, it's weird. So I thought that Godena was the first Italian grandmaster. Why do I think that? Maybe he was just like the first Italian grandmaster in 20 years or something. Strange. Mariotti was a crazy player. He played all kinds of insane openings. He has a lot of games with Karpov. I don't understand why I didn't know he was a GM. Knight takes f3, queen f3. So there's another GM in 1985, a player I've never heard of. Monticelli. That's hard to believe there's a player I've never heard of who was a grandmaster in 1985. Maybe he was a grandmaster of correspondence chess or something. Queen a7, queen g5 here. And Astrobate just goes for the kill. Beautiful mating attack. I don't understand how there can be grandmasters I've never heard of in 1985. I've never seen a game by someone named Monticelli. How is that possible? I don't know. Weird. Alright, next player, Mr. Slow. Good game, Astrobate. Excellent. Great progress there, though the opening move order was very bad. You have to play d6, not d5 the way you played it. So this is Mr. Slow playing black. c4. An honorary GM. He was like an arbiter or what? Alright, man. c4, knight f6, knight c3. Yabatis is checking the FIDE archives. e5, knight f3, knight c6. Okay, so this is Mr. Slowhand with black. Mr. Slowhand has that sandbagging rating of 1863 that makes people very overconfident, I'm sure. Okay, so maybe he was like some older player who got a posthumous GM title or something. Alright, e3, bishop e4, queen c2. And now, there is a recent book on the English for Bologan, I think, Mr. Slow. where he recommends a repertoire with black. Do you know about that? Bishop takes e3 is known as a good variation. You're supposed to play bishop takes, queen e7. This is included in Bologan's book, which I don't own, but I did hear about it from some other sources. Repertoire for black, I guess. Of course, Bologan is only borrowing this from other people. I mean, that's been a known idea. Mr. Slow could have seen this in other places. He didn't play this, though. Mr. Slow played instead castles, which is like the main line. I mean, this is traditional variation. When I was growing up and I studied the English, like very common is Steen's variation, knight d5, rook e8, queen f5. Once I lost a horrible game against Ilya Fiegler, I played this with black without knowing what I was doing. And in this line, I allowed knight f6 and took with the queen. Man, I don't know. I guess that's supposed to be playable, but I was like butchered in this ending. Fiegler was a correspondence master. He died like last year or 2 years ago. And I had this team game in like 1995. I don't know when it was. I lost really horribly in this variation. This is yeah, you play the English with white too sometimes, but I didn't know what I was doing. I got impaled. So I don't recommend playing this line with black unless you know exactly what you're doing. I tried to play it with limited knowledge and I just got destroyed against a well-prepared player. Knight d5 is main line. So he plays instead bishop d3, which is some kind of side variation. I like to do this with black, honestly. Tezek, you're funny, man. I want to play the King's Indian, but I don't know what to do against the London, etc. You got your priorities out of whack. Really, the London, etc. should be like a lesser consideration than like whether like the main variations of the King's Indian are, you know, holding up. Don't worry too much about that. Actually, g6 is a good formation against the London. Definitely don't worry about the Trompowsky. You just play d5 and black equalizes immediately. But if you like playing King's Indian style against the Trompowsky, you can just play g6. If you want a repertoire where you're just playing g6 against everything, you can just play g6 on move 2. It's completely okay for black in the Trompowsky. But that's probably only equal. Anyways, Trompowsky's out of fashion. Don't worry about the London. I mean, you have to prepare for it, but there are many good ways to play against the London. It's not really an issue. The question is the King's Indian. Good enough. Alright, anyway, bishop d3 is interesting. So he can't take with the queen. White has to take with the b pawn. The bishop's buried here. So Shamko has a game with white. I think I played one of the last games that Leonid Shamkovich ever played. Into 98, I guess. He was a strong player when I was a kid, and then he got much older. Didn't play much once I was a master. But Shamkovich here, 1980, when he had already moved to the U.S. He was one of the first strong players to immigrate to the United States from the former Soviet Union. I don't know the story, but definitely, you know, the era of defecting from the Soviet Union. B takes C, H6 from Mr. Slow. Like, that's a move I'd rather not play if I'm you here. A free history lesson. It's not free, Bob. Most of the people here were very generous. Supporting the stream today, we had a hype train. They deserve it. You missed the hype train. No, I mean, Leonid was one of the first players. Igor Ivanov had a very exciting escape from the KGB. I don't know what Champivich's story was, but he immigrated in the late 70s, which was, or in the mid 70s. I mean, it was not that common. It was hard to get away. H6 castles. So do you have to play H6 here? I would think you would want to threaten E4. Maybe Mr. Slow just doesn't like knight G5, right? This is concretely to stop knight G5. You know, if you were playing a really psycho-aggressive player, they would play like H4 here. Mr. Slow. Aldis, though, hasn't been in my weekly tournaments lately. This is his setup with white, man. We just do knight G5 anyway. Like rook E8, knight G5, pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn, E4. That shuts it down. So the question is, can you play a more useful move than H6? Maybe not. Like rook E8, knight G5 is seriously annoying. Now he's strafing H6. He's controlling E4. You try to remain objective with political regimes for the most part, but trapping people inside your borders is pretty suspect. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Good, Bob. You're making progress. I need an older player to really know Shamkovich's story, though. I'm not old enough to know the history there. You need someone of 10 years older than me to really know. H6 is a good move, stopping knight G5, I suppose. What about G4? Can he go psycho here? I doubt it. What about rook G1? That's like Emery Tate style. It's probably not sound. What does the engine say? Damn, computer wants to play like bishop E2. That signals a serious problem. I mean, if white's best move is bishop E2, then it's a massive fail. You know, if you think about it, Mr. Slowhand is playing the Rosslimo with white. So he's playing a reverse Rosslimo here. Now you've got, for example, D3, E4. Killed the bishop. Same idea we talked about on the black side of the Rosslimo in a lot of streams. This is like Gingy's favorite idea. Very Nimzovichian. Game over. Not game over, but it's bad for white. This is super awkward. But maybe not a bad idea, objectively. What do you think about that, Mr. Slow? Maybe Victor, the Terrible, would be willing to play E4. Maybe you, Mr. Slow, would be willing to play that. Knight H5, of course, G3, preventing incursions from the borders. Anyways, alright, we'll see what happened. H6, castles, now D5. Oh my god. I feel like Dana Carvey. You surprised me with this move. This is so... It's so, like... Counterintuitive. I hate that. So, the danger is that the bishops open up. And Mr. Slow just buries himself by opening the game for the enemy bishops. This is a very safe move. D6. He could play maybe like bishop f5. But I think that white, trades off his bishop pair. Could play e4. Here we go again. White's position does look suspect here, but I'm concerned about d5. You've taken a lot of time, like h6. Now I played the ugly e4. It's like a Paulson Sicilian reversed. Maybe it's not that bad. I wanted to play this, but now he has to deal with this in some variations. Plus the fork with this. Let's say queen e6. Threatening e4 and knight b4. Double threat. White's development is obviously slow here. So he's got it worked out. I am very curious to check with the engine. E4 is the best move. Wow. C4 not as good according to the engine. I wonder though about this. What does computer do here? Yeah, computer doesn't like d5, but why? Please see above. Am I on the list? Oh no. You submitted a game last week? Last week doesn't count, man. This is this week. Bob, if you act fast, you can still get your game in. But you have to act very fast. You didn't follow proper procedures, Bob. You didn't pay attention to the new system. You're following old procedures. You're outdated. Nomad. Alright. Gotta get with the up-to-date procedure. D5, CD5, Queen D5. So E4. Do me next, please. I gotta go soon. For only 4 low payments. You can make all 4 payments for a 10% discount at once. Alright. Bob, if you submit the game now, we'll add it to the list. If no one minds, I would do your game first. If there are no objections. There might be objections to you, though. E4, Queen D6. A4 with a very subtle threat. Here. So I was expecting white to want to keep the bishop pair with something like bishop e2 or bishop c4. I didn't think about this. If I'm white here, I don't really want to trade my bishop off. Bishop pair is ideal. Maybe ops-colored bishops. So what about just like bishop d7? That would relieve the guard. Like bishop d7. I am concerned about d4. Bishop d7, bishop a3, queen e6. And our queen is getting very short of squares. But if we can hold up d4 by nature of pressure on this square, maybe we're fine. You know, you have to calculate carefully, but I would suppose it's possible to play bishop d7. Mr. Slow played a more aggressive move, bishop g4. This is the thing. Mr. Slow is throwing structure out the window with bishop g4. I was just concerned that maybe we can keep everything tidy with bishop d7. It's not a very macho move. Admittedly, I don't know. White's lust to expand here with d4 looks pretty good. However, we have to calculate d4. He's Mr. Slow. He's not really slow. He just likes increments. Bob sent in a game. Bob, you made it. Congratulations. Bob just submitted game number 10. Bob. Alright, game number 10. You're in the list. We will get back to Mr. Slow in a second here. Complete our game. I just have to add this. Alright, Mr. Bob. So Mr. Slow, we're at move here. Critical position. B takes c6. He lets his structure go. Structure schmucture, right? It doesn't matter. Ops color bishops. Structure can be out the window. Anyway, I mean, I feel like this is, regardless of whatever we say, this was a very important moment. You know, deciding what to play here for black. The dual threats of like bishop a3 and bishop takes c6. It's not that many moves that black has here. How many options do you have? Strong point with knight d7 takes pressure off the center. I guarantee black is like lost here. Almost lost. This might work. Bishop a3, queen e6. I just don't see anything clear for white. If he had all the time in the world, like rook e1, setting up d4. If white had enough time, he's going to overwhelm you, and the two bishops will kill. But it looks like that might be a serious option. Mr. Slow may just watch the stream later. You know, he may have dropped in and out. So bishop takes c6. This is a serious concession. He gives up his structure. White played knight h4. Bishop e2. I mean, you're going to win the exchange if knight e1, so we obviously do have to consider this. The point is, like, black is tied down to e5. If he tries to do anything funky, the e5 pawn is going to fall. So he has to stay on the e5 pawn, which means queen e6. Would that change the situation? This actually helps black, because the queen can come into like h3. Man, this looks really good for black. The presence of the queen on a white square sort of, you know, for example, like king h1, bishop takes, pawn takes, and then this. And black is like winning because the queen is on an e6. This bishop is just a ghost on a3. Too little, too late. You know, you have a question to ask tactically. What about queen a2? I mean, I'm desperate here. I don't want to get mated with white. I'm trying to defend white's position. Can white defend white's position? If I trade queens, it changes everything. Queen a2 is a crafty move. The point is, in variations, I don't know, with knight e4, well, e5 is hanging. And if I could trade queens, bang, you know, everything might be okay. Though not so simple. How do you like your pawn structure now? That's kind of a messed up pawn structure. Double Isolani, double Isolani, Isolani. I have no idea what's going on here. It's a really horrible pawn structure for both sides. One of the worst pawn structures I've ever seen. Black's still better. but just barely. What do you guys think about queen a2? Oh, it loses. Oh, shit. Queen e8, double exclamation point, and you're busted. Of course. That's an evil move. Didn't see it. Did you guys see this? Some of the more aggressive players, someone unsound would have seen this. Avoiding the exchange of queens, and white is lost. Just don't exchange queens, and you are lost. It seems passive. That's the point, right? That's why I didn't see it. It looks stupid. You're like passive. But you know what's not passive? Like something like this. Here, 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 and here. Where white just like gets mated on h3 or something. The white pieces are just like spectators on a2 and a3. That's amazing. You know, like no other move wins. Literally. This is the only winning move for black. Probably. So anyway, good practical try for white. Instead, knight h4. This is actually not a bad move. I mean, knight h4. I was just looking for something better. I really wanted to find something better. I thought bishop e2 here for Mr. Slow. Did I miss something? Don't you just have this? He probably didn't like knight f5, but I don't think it's a big deal. Then rook e1 and bishop d3, and you're just taking this pawn out. Probably Mr. Slow's opponent is toast here, losing his central pawn and the anchor of the knight on f5. Good luck with that. Well, maybe again like queen a2 saves him. But it's still better for black. Like, even if you had to trade queens. Can we do this again? No. Okay, he has knight g3 now. If you try to retreat, maybe knight g3. It's the story of the bad bishops, which is better. Mr. Slow played g5. It's a fast game. Everything's a draw, man. Chess is a draw. It's probably a draw. This was a nice move, though. White better play f3, man. And fast. Pronto. f3 before it's too late. Can you play f3? This pawn is a devastating force. Look at that. If you have time to settle in, win the f5 pawn, knight g4. If white doesn't usurp control of the e4 square, it's like over. It'll just be death. So I argue for this move. Before it's too late. I think that white is alright here, based on the fact that black's pawn structure is just shot all over the place. If you can survive and not get mated, even if white loses a pawn or something, it's not a big deal. You know, but you have to play f3 and destroy that pawn in e4 before it's too late, before it really does some damage. Check. King h1. Queen f5. And then maybe bishop a3. And we're fine. Whatever. Black has 7 pawns, but look at the pawns. These pawns are pretty bad. Mr. Slow has burned all of his bridges behind him. It's possible he could like just be lost or worse here. Or not. Wow, the computer doesn't agree though. He's not lost or worse. He's even better. It looks awful from the structural standpoint. Wow. You have to find rook d5, double exclamation point. Raise your hand if you would have found that move. I don't find it for sure. Most of you ain't gonna find rook d5. That's a sick move. Tactical point, defend the queen on f5. That's a very hard move to find. A lot of people would have lost this ending with black. I think most people are gonna, like, if you gave this position to 2 random players, under 1,500 or even under 2,000. I would bet that black would do better than white would. I mean, white would do better than black would. Sorry. Black would. Blackwood was a town near where I lived. But anyway, really irrelevant to the discussion today. My point is, let's forget about what stupid Stockfish says. This position from a human standpoint, I think, is hard to play for black because of the destroyed pawn structure. So Mr. Slowhand burned his bridges by allowing that structure to go. Now he has to keep the queens on the board and get some kind of attack. But it's not so easy. If white plays f3, but he didn't. He played this. Oh, no. Never trade queens when you're better. Right? I don't know, man. That looks like a move I would play. But I didn't expect it from Mr. Slowhand. Holiday drunk? Is it a holiday? Oh, it's... What is it? Bank holiday. It's a bank holiday in Ireland. It's Mother's Day on this weekend. Close enough. Alright. Mr. Slow, how could you play Queen d5 with the Queen and Knight combination and the space with e4? This guy is going to have to play f3. If he doesn't play f3, I say, to hell with him. You're better. Let's see what the Oracle says. Oh my god, Knight g4 wins immediately. Stupid Oracle. What do you know? So it's plus 4.3 for black. Here's the hint, guys. Don't trade the queens when you have a space advantage and a queen and knight combo against a bad bishop. Mr. Slow was playing blitz against a opponent here, making a practical move, trading queens, and then he assumed was safe. But I didn't think black was winning. You know, I didn't realize this was winning. But I did sense that we shouldn't trade queens. So, queen e5 at the minimum. White still has f3 there, though. What did I tell you? That's key. Gotta destroy the e4 pawn. Man. Wow. Rook d3. Paralyzing. I have the sense that Mr. Slow knows he's better here, but he's just sort of playing blitz, you know, in a fast-paced game with the safe queen d5. Sad. The sadder part is white, like not realizing the danger. If I was white, I'd be like, yes! I could trade queens. As Schieberspieler says, always trade queens. Dude, the bishop comes out into the game, threatening bishop e7. It could lodge itself on maybe d4. We can fight for the b file. We can destroy your center with f3. But white plays instead queen b7. I had an interesting instance of this with Astrobate when I was going over a game with him this week. We had a situation where he offered a trade of queens to the opponent in a position where the opponent has a forced win. And his opponent just could trade queens and take a pawn and game over. And the guy didn't trade queens because he's thinking only psychologically. He's like, if my opponent wants to trade queens, I don't want to trade queens, you know? That's not very deep. Just automatically do what the opponent, you know, seems to not want you to do or whatever. You got to get a little deeper than that. Analyze the position objectively. I mean, black has this huge space advantage created by e4. That's everything. There's no bishop, hence no rook. And you're playing queen b7? This is not a people move 11. That's a Walt Disney World people mover. This pawn on e4, it's like the... It's huge, man. It's huge. This is a people. This is more than a people. That's like a piece, dude. The pawn in e4 is a piece. These pawns may not be important, but that pawn in e4 is a killer. Automatically he just like assumes he doesn't want to trade queens. And then Mr. Slow like forces it. This comedy of errors. Yes, we can trade queens again. Nope. Don't want to trade queens. I want to lose. Okay. Now Mr. Slow played c4. Locking down, but I don't know if I'm materialistic. I still want to take this. f3 looks like a problem, even so. I think that black is alright, though. Black is safe here. This is going to afford white some counterplay. It's just a funny comedy of errors where both sides are doing the wrong thing. Like, Mr. Slow should be trying to avoid trading queens, and his opponent should be agreeing to an exchange of queens, and like the opposite is happening. Bishop a3. Finally, that's in the game. Like, white finally agrees to a trade of queens. Dude, that's big. Yep, that's a nice bishop. White is better. Maybe not better enough to win, but he went from worse to better. Now, I didn't see this game, but I'm gonna guess that black like sacks the exchange for rook takes d4 later and wins by nature of like knight on d5 with the passed pawn or something. No. I guess not. This is a killer. Killer a pawn. I don't really get bishop b6, but it's just a move, I guess. He's just putting the bishop where it can protect a5. Now I offer a draw. Knight b6. Yeah, I mean, I don't think white should have allowed that. I would probably grab the draw, you know, like take here. Smells like draw. But this is a blitz game with like 16 seconds against 44. Mr. Slow goes with c3. Yeah, the whole bishop b6 thing was kind of awkward for white. He never should have done that. And now you better be very careful. So rook e1 is pretty much forced. And maybe it's too late to salvage. But let's see. Rook c1. King f1. Rook c1. Nope. Gotta play this. No, it's too late. It is late. Is it late? Alright, let's not play king f1. We don't have a move. Damn it. King f1 here. Rook c1 loses. It's already too late. Respect the passed pawn. What about king e2? Check. Am I just losing? Am I hallucinating? Rook takes rook. Yeah, it's over. Yeah, so white just didn't respect that passed pawn. It's over. Sudden loss. But a lot of mistakes in that game. Thanks for sharing, Mr. Slow. It was an interesting struggle. Alright, guys. Next game. Thanks for the support from the stream, too. From all you viewers, including Mr. Slow. We've got Yabatis versus Lichess. Sorry, Bob wants to go first, if no one has an objection. Do we have any objections to the marriage of Bob and the analysis of the next game? Would someone like to object to Bob having the next game analyzed? Princess had an objection? Oof. If there's any objections, we can't let Bob go next. Sorry, that's the Republican House rules. So it's interesting that Bob playing a WFM here. Bob's making friends with other streamers, I guess. The Funk Mouse. Alright. FIDE Master, WFM, FIDE Master, Funk Mouse. D4. Funk Mouse is playing the other side. So D4, D5. I don't know much about Funk Mouse. C4, but it's a cool name. C6. CD5, CD5. Ugh. Yeah, you should really be like have your chess title stripped when you play the Exchange Slav. That's just not fun. Jesse Cry, my old friend, always promoted playing the Slav Exchange. It's sort of sickening. You should have your master card taken away from you when you play the Exchange variation. That's for chickens, not mice. Funk Chicken. Alright. Funk Chicken plays CD5, CD5, Knight C3. I'm the Funk Chicken. We're playing the Exchange variation of the Slav for the win. Knight F6, Knight F3, and already this is inaccurate by White, right? White's supposed to play Bishop F4. You know, even though I don't play the Exchange Slav, I've seen other people play it. Once I played it in a tournament game. The reason why I played it was first round of a GM tournament where I played this guy, Moreru from Romania, and I had no prep, and I got White, and I played like 2 moves, and he played the Slav, and I was like, shit, you know, I have no preparation for this guy. I have no idea what variation he plays or anything. So I admit, like, one time I intentionally played the Exchange Slav, like, basically just trying for a draw, because I just simply didn't have any prep. In the first round, they draw lots, like 5 minutes before the game, and I really chickened out. But normally I would never play this stuff with White. I'm honest in my criticism. I think it's for chickens. So Knight F3 is wrong. Bishop F4 is better. Slightly. Knight F3, Knight... Ooh, what is that? Bob, what is Bishop F5? What are you doing? Bob doesn't know theory. That's the problem. You've got to be careful, Bob. Your B7 pawn has a tendency to get attacked by Queen B3, Queen B7. So typically we've got to be very selective and careful about developing... Excuse me. Let's just delete that. You've got to be very, very careful about deleting your queenside bishop. The first priority here would be to get the kingside developed. I would say Knight C6. That's not the kingside. Anyway, Bishop F4, now Bishop G4 allows... Actually, I don't know what this is. Normally A6 in this position. We wait for White to play E3, and then we play Bishop G4. Maybe, you know, you should just play Knight C6 first. That's also interesting. But anyways, alright. Knight F3, Bishop F5, question mark. I don't know what that is. Yeah, I mean, you're just supposed to play Knight C6. White's only good plan is Bishop F4, and then you play A6. It's simple. The old school variation was Bishop F5. And maybe Bob has seen this, but A6 is better. There might be some slight drawbacks to A6, that the C5 square, these squares are slightly weak, but it's hard for White to prove it. Statistics here have pretty much shown. My game that I played that I was talking about was something like, we had Rook C1, Knight E4, I think, against Moreru. I swear I thought I played like Queen B3 or something. I don't remember what I did against Moreru, but it was something like that. with white. Bishop f5 is the old variation. It's okay. You're going to transpose if you're lucky. She doesn't try to punish you. I'm sure you would have liked that. But seriously, she could have played queen b3. That's the obvious try. After queen b3, how do you defend your pawn? Maybe you can sack it, like knight c6, queen b7. What do you do now? This is messed up, man. Yeah, queen b6, it's loss of a pawn. Just takes. Oh, it's the there was a guy who used to play this against me. I've told this story on the stream before. Oh, this is a trap, man. Yeah, you're just walking right into a trap. That's the guy at Harvard Square, the Harvard professor story. There was this Harvard professor who used to come to my table, and he would like come every week and lose the same game over and over again. Like I must have beat him like 20 times in this variation. He just didn't understand. Like it didn't sink in that he's just like lost after this. Knight f6 check, ef. We played like 20 times. White's just up like a central pawn on d4. Regardless of what happens, there's no way that black is fully equal here. No, it doesn't work. So you don't have an effective way to defend b7. That's the problem. Your best move is actually bishop c8. This is literally your best move. And now bishop f4 with the threat of knight b5 in some variations might be kind of ugly. Yeah, this looks bad. If here, I don't know. That's your best chance, actually going back to c8. So the Funk Chicken didn't play the incisive move. Bishop f4, transposing to the draw land. Okay, she just didn't want to think and played what she knew. She transposed to a known line. e3. Roman Gigiashvili used to play this for white, and I never bought it, but Roman liked it. This isn't the problem, really. He proved like white could get some kind of tiny advantage here. The problem is a6. This is the problem. Knight f3, knight c6, bishop f4, a6. In this line, I admit like white has some kind of tiny advantage. Roman had played computers and stuff, like 30 move variations where he had some kind of tiny advantage. This is correct now. Bishop here. He's trying, or she's trying to exploit this diagonal. Bishop d6, bishop g3. So that seems to be a mistake. I don't know what white's supposed to do. What does the oracle say? Surprising. Bishop c6 check. This is not a move you would anticipate. Not a move I would anticipate being the best move for white. Voluntarily releasing the tension. Why? Why would that be the best move? Can't be better than any other move. Alright, bishop g3, castles, yawn. Now you can exchange on g3. You don't have to worry about the h file. Very funky move. The Funk Bob. You're funkier than her, man. Definitely. Funk Bob is abandoning control of e5 a little bit with this move, though. That's kind of concerning. Another thing, Bob, that you should think about. Bishops are actually maybe not as strong as knights in this type of position. There's never going to be a pawn break. That's why I hate the exchange Slav. Like e4 is just like bad structure for white. So you have a position where there's no pawn breaks. The knights are actually as good or better than bishops. So she is starting to destroy the pawn structure there. I understand why you played knight e7. Burmakin played bishop takes g3. No. Yeah, draw. So there's a game from here. This is a Hungarian GM tournament. Lengyel Levante versus Zoltan Lehmann. Bishop takes g3, draw. Bishop takes g3. No. Okay, Burmakin against Efimov from 2006. Grandmaster draw. Just dropped off the the Game Explorer, because it was a green draw. Burmakin is known for his uncompromising style. You should see him play blackjack. But castles... Yeah, you played Novelty, 97. I'm concerned about this square. You know, maybe you should play Bishop G4 and trade off for knight, dude. The E5 square is important. I think she's making a mistake here. What about, like, take and knight E5 for white? Now, that seems like maybe her best bet. I don't want you to get the chance to play Bishop G4 and trade off for knight in this closed position. Hungaski talks about getting the knight to D6. Yeah, he's got the Jesse Cry style too. They're probably like soul brothers stylistically. I don't really know Hungaski, but I appreciate him. I mean, he's a educated guy, and he has a very kind of methodological style of analysis. I don't think that I identify with his playing style, but I appreciate him. We've got, I saw him playing another position that was really boring. Some kind of closed structure. Rook C1. Yeah, 2 automatic. So you're talking about getting the knight to D6. Sure, if black could, knight E8, knight D6. Knight D6 is a good square. And you don't have to worry about knight E5. Right. So you're saying... Move 11 is saying if knight E5, we move this knight away, then play for F6. It's like a Stonewall Dutch. We'll want to play knight here, somehow. But I think after her move, Bob should play Bishop G4. Excuse me. Rook A C1. Does anybody object to this? That knight, you know, that's not coming to E5 in my world. I'm out of here. Bishop G4, dude. What are you gonna do? Bishop D6, Queen D6, H3. Goodbye. And now good luck winning this position with white. Your bishop is no better than my knights in this position. Magnus could win somehow, right? But I just don't think so. This is fine for black. I like it. You could even get kind of creative with this, maybe, if you wanted to provoke white, but I don't know about G4. I would just trade it off and be like, all right, draw. I would offer her a draw at this point after Bishop G4. Very strong psychological weapon. Punish them for playing the exchange Slav. So instead, check out what happened. Bob played Bishop G4. Can we get a special?
Well, yeah.
Credit for Bob. Double exclamation point. Achieving control of, or fighting for control of E5. I didn't realize you really played it. And now she played Bishop E2. See, the problem is now you should probably consider exchanging the bishop for the knight with like bishop takes F3. Man, she's got the boring style. Bishop takes F3, bishop F3, whatever. Draw. I offer draw. Maybe you can offer an open draw. I offer an open draw. Just like an open draw for the next like 20 moves. You could say like I offer a draw from any time now until like move 31. Has that ever been done? Is that legal? Can you offer like over a time period? Knight F5, Bishop D6, and now move 11's suggestion is correct. This knight on F5 is kind of funky. The knight on D6 is excellent. So I agree with you. There's nowhere this knight on F5 is going, Bob. She should probably play knight E5, keep her own knight on the game. There it is. Now she has 0.0001 advantage with the knight on E5. This is like what she lived for. this position. Now she can torture you for 273 moves with a 0.1 advantage. A6, Bob actually stops knight b5. But I don't like your knight in f5, Holmes. That might get hit by the pawn if she was a little more dynamic. I don't like your knight on f5. You got to get your queen off of there and put it back to d6. Realize your mistake here. So just queen e7 or something is fine. Bring the knight back to d6. You don't want your knight on f5 here. h3. White isn't playing the exchange Slav because they're like an overly dynamic player. I mean, I'm not trying to like trash her, but I just don't like this kind of style. It's insipid. It's something personal. You know, I'm sure she's a cool person, but I hate anybody who plays the exchange Slav. I don't hate them, but I hate that style. It's like the London system. You know, it drives me crazy. It's just not dynamic. b4. Hello. These are the support points, c4 and c5. Now Bob has a golden opportunity to be the first one into a support point. Now Black is better. He's like Alyakin Capablanca. Bob, she played e4. Oh my god. White's desperate. White's losing. But now what? You take. Now if you trade, it's probably a draw. He traded. There are some tricks though. She's got counterplay with knight c5. Can you roll the dice here with knight b5 and be materialistic? Can we work something out? Knight c5. For example, knight c5, queen d5. Just stay cool. And I think you're going to pick off one of these pawns. It's a chance, at least. You know, I think this is your best chance to win. Once you trade knights, it's like Deadsville. You're better, but it's just symbolic advantage. You're never going to beat a WFM with a heavy piece ending with an IQP. It's too drawish. She should probably consider maybe rook c5. I don't know. Yeah, probably not. I don't know. White should draw. I don't like the way she played it, though. There's no reason for her to exchange rooks and surrender the open file for no reason. Now Bob could grind her here and maybe win a pawn eventually. Korchnoi lost a similar endgame against Karpov, but he had weakened his king side with f4, dude. If she does like f4, yeah. This is where Korchnoi Karpov was like, Karpov trained the pressure on d4, and he set up something nasty like e5. I mean, you can prepare e5. So queen d8 or queen d7, followed by e5, and then Korchnoi plays f4, and he destroys his whole king side. That's a very famous game that I don't know, I might have analyzed with someone here. This is a serious problem. Korchnoi should probably like find a way to lose a pawn. You know, even this is better. Screw it. You know, give you the pawn. Here, have the pawn. That's not a good example though, because there's back rank mate. But this is a very important position. As much as I joke around, this is a great example of how to defend IQP position with white. You don't play f4 like Viktor Korchnoi and just kill yourself. It's game over. What you do is you give the pawn up if necessary. Get yourself the hell out of this pin. Play for counterplay along the c-file. This isn't even possible because of the back rank tactic. So black will have to play first, like, I don't know, g6 or something. h6. Whatever. Even if white loses the d-pawn, it's still not game over. How is black going to win with like 4-on-3 on the king side? Not easy to do. But basically, Victor the Terrible lost against Karpov in the famous game because he played something along the lines of like really crazy move. I'm suggesting queen d7, f4, and that's it. You know, the king is just roasted. on the back rank with all the pawns pushed up to f4 and g3 and whatever. You know, that's a problem. Now we don't trade pieces. We're just going to play for mate against white. Some sort of e5 or whatever. So you got to transfer the advantage. Anyway, Bob, good game. Very instructive. h6 here. Queen c3. Bob's trying to probe. Threatening tactics with rook f2 check. You got it. Bang. Now, are we winning? Can we win in a queen endgame? Pawn up. I don't think it's a win yet. If you win a second pawn, it's over. In most cases, barring perpetual check. She's got some counterplay. Bob just didn't have the stomach to try to beat her here. He was a chicken. Counter chicken. I think there's some chances here, you know. But it's a tough endgame. I don't know if this is a win or a draw. I like your 4 pawns. Your king is very safe. You should be able to set up a position where your king can't get checked. So probably Bob is winning. He just wanted to be nice. There is this threat, though. It's not an easy endgame. The engine gives him +3. How do you make progress? Computer wants to take. Check. Check. So take on a3, check, king moves, take here, and then you're going to win the d pawn, and that's a lot. Yeah, she's falling apart here. I just take this. This is over, dude. This is over. Well, alright, put her king on a normal square. g2 takes here, here, and now it's 4 against 2. You should be able to force this pretty easily. This is going to take some work, but you'll win it eventually with 4 against 2. You should be able to get to this kind of position and grind it from there. Thanks, Bob. All right, that's enough of Bob for today. We're going to go to game number 4, Ubadis. Man, I got to change my position. We're very uncomfortable. Bob makes me uncomfortable. That's what she said, but anyway. All right, anyway, Bob, it was a good game. A rare, very good game. Just kidding. All right, Ubadis versus Ray Chess. Thanks, everyone, for joining me. Thanks for the level 3 hype train earlier. Ubadis with the knight c3, e5, d3. I'm going to turn off the engine. Sorry. This is the Ubadis system. That kills us, man. That hurts. c6. Oof. That makes my stomach sink when I see that move. Seriously, you can't be excited to see c6. That means they're going to hunker down with a very solid d5 pawn. What you want to see when you play this kind of opening is a player who's like willing to really overextend themselves. And when you see c6, it's like, oh no. They're going to be like solid and cautious. Not really what we want. We want people who are willing to overextend themselves. You're excited about c6? No, I'm not excited. I'm depressed. e4. I don't condone Ubadis' system here. It's okay. I wouldn't play it. Maybe if you paid me. But we've talked about this type of position with black. And I think the proper way to do it is to try to be as hyper-modern as possible. So my preference here with white would be to play knight f3, you know, and then this is the problem. It's the Schieber-Spieler system. Bishop d6. They're playing like a c3 setup against the modern. It's hard, man. It's very hard because the likelihood is you're going to get some kind of symmetrical structure. When you play e4, they're going to take and kill the game. And this is draw city. Knight e4, pawn e4, yawn, click, whir. It's just not easy. Again, it's like the exchange Slav. I hate symmetrical positions. It's possible to win, but it's not easy. So we disagree on a lot of things, Spectacular Camel, but that's okay. You know, that's life. The problem is that black can just play pawn takes pawn here, you know, and white has never won a game in this position. If you play pawn takes pawn, you have a slightly worse ending. If you play knight takes, it's probably only like a tiny bit better for black, maybe equal if you're lucky, after knight e4, bishop e4. Luckily, the players at this level are not trying to suck the life out of the game. You know, if you were 2400 and your opponent was 2100, you'd be like cursing yourself for allowing this. But that's not the situation here. The problem is when you're like a strong master and people start playing for a draw against you, you're going to have an issue, you know. You can't do this anymore. They're going to intentionally start playing for draws. You don't have to worry about that. e4, d4, knight on c to e2, bishop d6. Okay. These pawns are kind of staggered. That's something good. We like to see that. h3, the standard Yabata system, castles, and then f4, and this is his setup. I was going to ask a question. What happens if black plays like bishop e4 check, right? You just go c3. You have a good game there, I guess. All right, so here, here, here. He castles, f4. By the way, a lot of people don't castle. I had a similar game on my stream. Maybe different opening, though. I was black. Yeah, it's not so easy. Maybe h6, f4. If c5, f4. If black had time for like all those moves like h6, c5, g5, I guess he would be doing all right. But it's not so easy to get 3 moves in a row. So Yabata's system has some strength. I guess this is best. Play c5 and then not commit the king, so you don't castle into an attack, and then something like knight c6 to reinforce the center will be his best. f4, knight c6. Here's some games. Dudas Jan, and I'm not clear if that's János Dudas. Probably the Hungarian I am. Dudas János. Playing in Slovakia, I would assume. Alright. Could be another guy with a very similar name, but János Dudas was a decent I am here. Well, I played many years ago. Anyway, castles is very committal. Black will have to be, worried about a kingside attack in this position. Not so easy to deal with. Is h3 necessary? Well, that's one of Yabata's things. He believes it's necessary. I understand. It's about knight g4. So whenever we play f4, there's always going to be these crazy ideas with knight g4 invasion. Yabata's, in his experience, come to the conclusion that it's not worth allowing that. That's the debate. Another interesting way that black could play would be h5. I'm not sure I'm really down with this, but it's a move. Again, another system where we try to hold you up and we don't want to commit. But I think h6, c5, c5. That's about it. Or h5. I don't like castling. I suppose it's okay, but black's gonna have to be careful. f4 now, and well, still I think he should play c5 and reinforce the center. It's not too late, to do it. He plays instead takes, surrender the center. I mean, there's a small chance there's some kind of tactical thing here, or maybe knight h5. If you've got this, and you've got this, and you've got something, but I don't see it. White's just better, man. I mean, he has two powerful pawns. The d-pawns become weak. It looks like this is a textbook example where black's just giving up their center. So he's got to try c5, knight f3, knight c6. And there's an actual game here. Not so easy now. Keep the tension. I've seen Yabatas play games like f5. Then we evacuate. We run away to the other side with our king on g8. Rook e8, maybe king f8, king e7, king e7, king... I'm just joking. I don't know. Not necessarily, but it's always an option. Maybe we sound the alarm. Once white commits to f5, we're like, okay, I don't really want to get pawn stormed. I'm going to run away to the other side. That's why I don't advocate castling kingside so early. Why commit to kingside castling so quickly for black? All right, so he gives up the center, take here. Say what? This arrangement doesn't strike me as ideal for black. Why would you want to play knight on f to d7? Like, I understand why it's starting to fork your pieces. I get it that it's too late for knight d7 and getting forked. First of all, you've got to consider knight h5, right? Knight f3, but at least we're not getting our pieces forked, and we're not blocking our bishop. We're not blocking our other pieces. Black can play for blockade, right? This looks completely... Little problem with this pawn. I was going to say completely playable, but not so simple. So we're going to have to play c5 to defend that pawn. And then white can play crazy stuff like f5 at some point, but it's very double-edged with the diagonal and stuff. I don't know. I don't like the way black played it, personally, but this move is a travesty. You can't play knight d7. I mean, that's ridiculous. Now, even this is potentially a move, right? No. That's bishop f4. Never mind. Okay, knight f3. Threatening this pawn. And now black has one move. c5. The only move. Difficult to find, I know. Our pawn is attacked twice and needs protection. It's like Gauntlet. Elf needs food badly. Okay. Yeah, you gotta play c5 here. And still black's alive, though I'm sure that white's better. Even just castles, white's got a good King's Indian. You could dissolve their center with c3 at some point. But f6? What? I don't understand. Like, wait, you just blocked your queen. This pawn is attacked twice with no defense. And now Yabatas is like, no, I don't want that free pawn. It's a trick. I've seen this before. That was like my game with Mendonca from the GM tournament I played last year. There was this pawn on d4 that I eventually took that I shouldn't have taken, that brought his dead bishop. He had like a bishop on c5 in a position like this, where I was sitting there thinking like, oh man, that guy's bishop is awful. It can never play. If I take the pawn, it'll get in the game. But Yabatas, I understand what you're talking about, but you got to understand this is just a clear pawn up for white with no compensation. This is not, a question. Either way you take this, you're just a clear pawn up here. Yes, it might take some work, and there might be some slight risk involved, but the computer is definitely taking that pawn. I'm almost certain that's the easiest way to win. You're still better after you don't take the pawn, I guess. But he has the ability to play c5, and it's crazy that he doesn't do that. So here, knight h4. Yeah, well, I mean, he's got to do something. So, okay, knight on another bad square. Like, objectively, c5 might be better. I'm not sure. Here, it's like both sides pretended that pawn wasn't hanging. There goes one bishop. Bishop takes f5. No more white square control. And now suddenly, I'm feeling a kingside attack coming on, inducing weaknesses in the opponent's position. Black induced his own weaknesses by giving up his white square bishop. You thought Bob was bad for bishop f5. I mean, frankly, my dear, if black has played a move here, wouldn't like g6 be a better idea? Do you have a sealer sweeper? e5 takes f5? Some kind of crazy pawn sack? You like f5 directly? Not in this position. You want to sack a piece? That's a bit over the top. I was thinking we feed him this pawn and then go for f5. That's the sealer sweeper, according to Hans Kmock. That's the idea, anyway. Like, you might be able to tweak the move order or something. G5 instead of G6. Ugh. Yeah, that's a very creepy move. That way you'll get home faster, B Maximus. What's the fastest way? That reminds me of one of my favorite quotes from a grandmaster. Alexander Ivanov, after he won the tournament, said, "My favorite moment of the tournament is when I get in my car and I drive home." Most people would be like excited they won like a cash prize and a trophy. When you interview him like after the game, he's like, "This is my favorite moment when I get in my car and I drive home." So this is a faster way for black to lose with g5. I'm just kind of joking around, guys, but I mean it's possible that g5 is like committing harikiri for black. g5 is very dangerous. g6 only somewhat so. Yeah. Get in my car and I drive home. That's like, I'm sure he would rather lose more quickly as well. If you're going to lose, just lose quickly. You know, why waste your time? Anyways, knight f5. This is a good game. g5. He doesn't play g5 here. You would have queen h5. Father Lodge. I got a knight trapped on h6 recently. I am not friends with that square. Ugh. f6. So it's not really clear white has like a devastating blow, even though white's better here. But it looks like this drops protection of f6. Now it's over. Ugh. Oh no, not a queen h5. No, I don't see it. I don't see a queen h5 queen sack. This is so more mundane. He's escaping to the other side. You don't take the pawn on d4. How could you? You took the pawn on d4? What? That's always bad. Are you kidding me? How could you? How could you take the d4 pawn? That's against principles. Unbelievable. So, I'm shocked. Rook takes f6 check. You're supposed to win this whole game without taking the d-pawn, and you just bailed. Now, I guess knight f5 wins the queen. No mates. He's just going to hide over here. Sadly. No direct mates. Yet. So king a5, I guess. He goes to b4. And it's just material crunch time. Alright, good game. Guys, it's been long. We have 8:30 already, and we've only made it just almost halfway. So I'm going to have to move along a little bit faster. Game 5. Mr. Morales, who's not here. Absent. This is Morales against 2487. So this is quite a high-rated opponent for Morales. Thank you, Ubatis. Good game. I agree with you philosophically about the d4 pawn. You caved and finally took it. You're foregoing your principles. e4, e5, bishop c4 for Morales, knight c6, knight c3, and now it's the Vienna game, right? But what does black play here? I've played knight f6 against a few people, then d3, knight a5. This is in Bronstein 200 Open Games. I had a friend once who had played a game with white, who had a position where they allowed tripled pawns. So black gets like bishop b4, plays bishop takes c3, and then knight takes c4. That's really wild. For example, something like, I don't know, maybe queen f3, bishop b4. Even here you would prevent triple pawns. I'm not sure how the triple pawns would happen, but I like knight f6 better. I think black should play knight f6. Pretty much forced, because this line looks sus to me. Morales really knows this, but you know, I mean, if you don't know theory and you're an amateur player, this guy's 2487, but it's lichess rapid. He's probably like a 2100 FIDE player. Is this line just busted? I mean, this is a more principled move, right? But man, I don't like the look of bishop c5, queen g4. Because this problem, man. Look at the score here for black. Nakamura versus Yu Yanqi. And then the next game is from 1992. So not something you see every day. You've got a Strapunsky game from before he immigrated to the United States in 1994. A William Watson game. Then there's a couple real games from recent times. Nakamura and Pridorozhny. But not a variation you see every day. But black has to be aware this is a very dangerous line. So, I don't know. I mean, can you sack this pawn on g7 somehow? I guess not. So it reminds me of the Hikaru queen attack variation after g6. Yeah, knight e7's no good. You're just gone. No. Yeah, I mean, if there was a way to sacrifice the pawn, knight e7 would be like the only move. It's like g6 or king f8, threatening d5. I remember this being in like an old Zeitlin book on the Vienna. So this is not a new variation. Mark Zeitlin wrote opening books on weird lines like the Budapest Gambit and the like Latvian and this, I think. But queen g4, king f8, or g6. I mean, that seems like it, man. Okay, there is bishop f8, if you want to be like Petrosian about it. That's probably not that stupid. It's like playing bishop c8 in the exchange Slav. What's the worst thing that can happen after bishop f8? Queen g3, apparently. Lengel Bela from 06. Rest in peace, Lengel. Rest in peace, Bela. He was a great guy. We used to play Blitz. He was a neighbor of mine. Lived very close to me. Lengel Bela won. Nick Adams with bishop f8. But seriously, queen g4 is strong. So black plays queen f6. That move strikes me as exceedingly artificial. So you're asking for knight d5, but you do have the one move threat, which isn't really mate or anything. This is amazing prep by Morales. Check it out. I've lost enough games to Antonio. This guy who's 2487 probably thought like, oh, he's a cheater or something. But Antonio has over 350 games booked against me on the site. I mean, I've personally given him a lot of training, although not in this variation. He's extremely well prepared in his lines, and black didn't know what they were doing. Queen f2 check, king d1. There's no mate. The king is just completely safe on d1. This is probably in Seidlin's book, I would imagine. It's not like new. Although, honestly, like queen f6 is such a rare move. Maybe it's not even mentioned in books. It may just be very uncommon. John Ems, 1986. Alan Mary, 2017. So this is a British player. That's quite strong. A younger British player. Literally lost with white in a game. Whoa. How did he lose? Queen f2 check, king d1? Wow, black played bishop f8. No, that's another Lengel Bela game that he lost. What? Oh, okay, king f8. There is a game with king f8, knight h3, and here this guy played h5. Mr. Stockfish says Bishop's Opening is the worst opening name possible. But this guy's a strong player. He lost this position with white. That's a bad sign. Did he just blunder or something? Okay, so c7 is weak. Material is equal. I don't really want to trade queens. We have rook f1 on the way. But maybe white just has to make a concession and allow a trade of queens. Player in question here played queen g5. The move looks very strange and artificial. Honestly, I don't think I would even really look for that move. Yeah, the d4 pawn sack in some lines. White's... Dude, I don't get it, man. He actually has knight f2. Pawn takes, knight takes. What is this? I mean, seriously. Black's king is on f8, white's king is on d1. If we allow a trade of queens, material equal, rook h file. Black can defend with like bishop e6 and hang on. It's probably okay for black. So he wanted more. h5. No doubt a better move. What does white have here? Wow. This guy knows his stuff. He played the right move, apparently. Queen g5. Like, who knows that? Apparently, Alan B. Mary Is that his real name? B. Mary? Are you kidding me? Okay, that's just cheesy. H5, Queen G5, Queen D4, D3. We all lose sometimes to weaker players. How did it happen here to white? Now he retreated his queen back. Knight F6, C3, Queen C5. Somehow black just got lucky, it looks like. He was worse. He was worse all the way. But Antonio's opponent, okay, played Queen D4. The obvious move. D3. Now he just defends. He doesn't defend, in fact. He attacks. Yeah, the queen is about to get trapped. Kind of a small problem, no? There is bishop h3. I mean, maybe he's banking on that to free his queen. I guess not. Now there's bishop g4. Was it a little problem with f7, perhaps? There's a slight threat. The queen is trapped on d4. That's so sick. Nice game, man. He just sacked his queen. I would respectfully resign in this position. It's just not... It's not etiquette. Not good etiquette to play this out. Alright, great game. Next we got JNS. JNS playing black here against another famous women's player. We had a WFM Funk Mouse. Now we have WCM Nayusha. 9-4. Cooking Rooks. Thanks for subscribing at Tier 3. Tier 3! Oh my god, no. That's not allowed. No cheerleading. Sorry about that. I hate that one. That's just irritating.
Yes.
That's the best yes button. Alright. Thank you for subscribing at Tier 3, Cooking Rooks. Now we got the next game. JNS with black. It's a Karu Nakamura. Knight f6, and then the ever-popular e takes f6. You just discovered what the tiers were. Awesome, man. Thank you for keeping me in business. We've got 2 Tier 3 subs. This variation drives me nuts. We've seen several instances of people playing Knight G3. I might have to join their ranks, because honestly, it sucks having to trade pieces into a lifeless position with Knight f6. This is hard for white to get an advantage against. So the main move is c3. It's a French exchange type of theme where you don't necessarily want to play Knight f3 to get pinned by bishop g4. She just plays Knight f3 anyway. There are some strong players who opt for this. I saw Nicola Sedlak play it. No, I take it back. It was Albert Bokrosh. Bokrosh played it with white and lost against Sedlak in the game I saw a few years ago. But it's way more common to play c3. Doctor, you know white? Man, you could play like Acerbate maybe, bishop e3. It's not fun to play this for white. It's hard to get anything. Bishop d6, bishop e2. So at this point I'm thinking, it's a French exchange where my pawn is like magically teleported from d5 to f6. That's pretty boring. It's a little more lively than the French exchange. Castle, castle. I mean, I like the way black's playing. I'm just trying to figure out how the heck to play with white to get anything in this line. Very hard to do. I guess I like the other line better. You know, I will subscribe to c3, but it's still painful. Aliyev famously claimed that he could draw at will with this variation with black. He didn't even like play the Caro-Kann. I mean, it's just too boring for world champion Alyakin. But that was his feelings about it. Knight f6, e takes f, knight f3, bishop d6, bishop d3, castles, castles, bishop g4. Now she played h3. So naturally, if you give up the bishop pair here, you're screwed. You have to play bishop h5. But man, how is white going to win this game? My favorite is the Borg cube with bishop g6, hg6. G takes f long castles possible. That's how I lost in 1990 against Joel Benjamin. Don't want to do that, man. I had a great tournament when I was an amateur. My first great result, I was 3-0 in an open against strong opponents. I killed like 2 FMs, and I had to face Joel, and I played the G takes F Caro-Kann with black. I got a very, very quick lesson on why you don't play the G takes F Caro-Kann. I should have that should have been the last time I ever played a GF Caro-Kann, but I continued to try to play it like a couple times after that. Trust me, it's just bad. It's fun to play in Blitz, but don't play the G takes F Caro-Kann in an important game or like tournaments or anything serious. This stuff is okay. Bishop e3. So what's the point? Like, white's king and pawn in game is winning, right? If you take all the pieces off the board, most likely white has a winning king and pawn in game. But I mean, you can't force that. That's the point. So if we look at the opening explorer here, you got some ordinary moves like c3, c4, but this move draws my attention. Why would strong players like Gaia Megami play bishop e4? You're defending the knight on f3, and then we're going to unpin? Can we... That's one of Dr. Tripchance's countrymen there. But Gaiam's a great player. I like his style. Older generation. He's not like these Fallujah and the newer Iranian grandmasters. But that guy is an excellent player. Here he is a game against Berkesh. Bishop e4. Knight a6. Oh, also he played... Wow, he beat Alvest with bishop e4. You played against him. He played c4 against you? Seriously? You're talking about... What do you mean he played c4? In a English opening? You're not talking about this line, right? You're talking about like c4 English opening. Yeah, he's a good player. Bishop e4. Knight a6. He plays my favorite Blumenfeld gambit. Like, not too many people do that. Here he beat Alvest. Not easy to do. This bishop e4 idea is interesting. So what's the point now, really? What I'm not quite getting here. He plays c3. No, he played a3. Just containing this knight. This is subtle. And then what does black do? Queen d7. Former world championship, caliber player, Elvest, or I mean, like, very high level player. He was in the candidates at one point. Dude's like got the queen d3. Elvis couldn't have solved the problems here. Wow. Anyway, this line is worth looking at. White is very carefully prepared. Knight d2, and now the bishop is trapped on h5. f5. Bishop f3, knight f3. Knight c7. It's not that bad. Elvis got out of it with only a slight disadvantage and ended up losing anyway. Interesting. So that idea deserves consideration. I would pay attention to bishop e4. It looks like a good move. Anyway, it's very hard for white to get anything here. Bishop e3, knight d7, bishop e2. White like just admits they have nothing after bishop e2. This is a total surrender. It's like, okay, I have nothing, I give up. I'm coming out with my hands up. Now maybe even b5. What do you guys think about that? Is this crazy? I guess it's crazy. White would have this break. Alright, it's too much. I get overconfident sometimes. Black needs to play safe here. But I don't like knight b6. I think that black needs to make some kind of constructive move. Queen c7. Rook e8. Maybe even f5 isn't stupid. But I don't like knight b6. Your knight is on a strange square there. You want to go to d5? Maybe it's alright. Maybe he's right. Alright, knight b6 is interesting. Here, you got into d5, you're going to f4. I guess it's alright for black. Yeah, I like that bishop e4 move. a6 is a move. This is alright though. And now black's just like trading pieces if he wants to with knight takes e3. He played this well. Yeah, white's just worse. This was a simul, by the way. JNS is 1605 playing against the WCM. I think it was a simul. Am I crazy? I don't know why I thought it was a simul. No, I guess that was Bob's game. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up now. Alright, it's not a simul. Now we're talking about b5. Kids, how do you feel about b5? JNS played a great game. I'm not a huge fan of trading for that bishop on e3. I think we should wait. Only if necessary. I mean, b5 is still risky. We're touching the queen side where white has like a majority. It's a tough call. Black has a lot of moves here. Maybe just like even this, I'd rather exchange than that knight on e3. Alls I know is that your knight is probably stronger than that bishop on e3 at this time, so I would be reticent to make that exchange. He guarantees like an equal game though. I feel like black might have had better, is my point. This is definitely a moment of interest now. Do we need to play c5? I think your main thing is this pressure on the e-pawn. I would actually consider queen d5. You know, even if white plays c4, you know, he drops a pawn. She drops a pawn with d4. So I think this is a really important moment for black. Your focus should be, your focus should be on the pressure against e3. Maybe just rook e4. Anything. More pawns you make, you know, the pawns you make, the pawn moves you make, the more weaknesses you create in your position. When you play c5, you're creating pawn weaknesses in your position. You don't have to play c5 here. Lower maintenance move, rook e4. Black's just fine. The one thing you don't want to do is to somehow like go into a lost king and pawn in game. But I mean, I think you just play lower risk here. c5, what are you going to do? You know, what are you going to achieve with c5? You're going to do this and exchange it off? Now white has a 4-on-2. This is bad. This is a bad situation. You're just helping white enhance their queenside majority by playing c5. Just keep the pressure on e3. This is a blunder. Queen d3, cd4. You're just helping white. Winning position based on protected passed pawn on d4. Black was fine. Until that. Now I can't say black's fine. Even with possession of the open file. This majority is a winning pawn majority for white. Black's just struggling for a plan now. Yeah, she's just trading down to a winning endgame. It's too late. The damage is done. White has good technique. This is a good try, though. Avoiding the exchange, creating weakness. I think White should be more cautious. I don't like A4. That weakens her B3 pawn. Still, it's difficult for Black. Or not. Never mind. I guess this will suffice. She just blundered her D pawn. And now, like, it's probably a draw. Oops. Oof. Famous last words, ladies and gentlemen. The minute I said it's probably a draw, he hung a rook. That's so sick. That feeling that, you know, your stomach sinks when you're like, yes, I finally equalized, and then you hung a rook with rook d6. He literally reached an equal position. Now the majority is not dangerous, like 3 against 2. We can hold that easy. So, A5, blockading. And it's easy. You're never going to lose this. You don't want to play like Queen C5, maybe? Maybe Queen C5. There are various ways, but this is just a one-move blunder. Sad. I'm sorry you lost that. It was a good game to a point. All right, guys, we got to go on. Thank you for the submission from JNS. Instructive mistakes going into a bad endgame. You've got to be careful in the Caro-Kann. White's queenside majority there is really important. Move 11. What? Move 11 submitted the following game, played against someone close to the stream. How was rook e4 instead of c5? What? I don't know what he's talking about. Never mind. We're moving on. Knight f3, knight f6, c4, e6. What is this? What is this? Move 11. This. What is this? I don't remember this. Move 11 submitted a game against me. h6. Move 11 is black. Mainline Tartakover. I don't remember what game this was. I honestly have no recollection. I don't normally play this move. Normally. By the way, I like the Krasenka variation. Rook b1. Maybe that's worth considering. Probably not a big deal. Why can't black play dc4 here? No, this is not a mouse slip. Rook b1 is a cool line. I should probably start playing that. An alternate idea. Yeah, instead of rook c1. I thought this was attributed to Krasenkov. I played rook c1. Normally I play bishop e2 here. Dr. Chipchance, we went over your game in the first game of the stream. So rook c1, knight on bd7, cd5, ed5, bishop d3, bishop e7, castles, c6. So it all looks very logical until c6. Something about this move. Would Sergei Karyakin play c6? Karyakin loves himself some hanging pawns. Yasser versus Bakro. Yusupov versus Kamsky. Probably it was like d4, d5, e3 opening. But move 11 here just for no reason played like c6. This is an older game that I don't remember. Lame. I'm on my second beer and I'm just rude. But honestly, I try to be honest with you guys. Honestly, I'm honest. You're playing basically the... Speaking of Yusupov, Black, if you think about it, is playing the... What's it called? Tartakover Koltanowski system. You know, you would really like to have like your bishop on d6, and Mr. Coffee would be playing black here. What you have is a passive Kali system, essentially, now after c6. I don't know about this, though. That move bothers me. When I'm white, I remember there was this game in 100 Selected Games about Phoenix, where he won a game like this with white, but it was always kind of a mystery to me. He ended up getting black with some kind of tactic, but it doesn't seem like white has anything here. You know, what is white's deal? This is one way to play it. The c5 is obvious, right? This is classic. Spassky or Karyakin would play black here. Masters of the hanging pawns. I don't like this position, honestly, for black either. It's hard to play. I'm terrible with hanging pawns. I lost an awful game like 2 years ago in Hungarian Team Championship against Robert Torma, where I didn't play for a couple months, came back, played a game like this with black, and I just like hung my pawn on d5 in just a few moves. I had like not lost a game in the Hungarian Team Championship for 2 years. Didn't play for a couple months, came back, and just dropped my d5 pawn in one line. This is hard to play for black. It's kind of unpleasant. Why is c6 passive here but not in closed Catalan? You don't think... Well, you would like to play c5 in the closed Catalan too, right? I mean, we want to play c5 in the closed Catalan. It's a question of whether you can or not. It's not a question of... Like, c5 in the Catalan typically would, like, equalize. If you have an option to play c5 in the Catalan, I mean, you're going to play it. But it's obviously harder to achieve with the white bishop on g2. I don't know if that answers the question. I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, don't be afraid to take the hanging pawns route for black, because this is more passive. Anyway, it doesn't mean that it's easy for white to do anything. White also has a hard time coming up with an edge. Now, I will say one thing, though. If you play c6 in the Tartakover, it's possible white's break with e4 begins to take on some strength. Like in this position, e4 will usually be a bad move. Or impossible. But once you play c6, this idea... Sorry, c6. The idea of e4 becomes a reality in some cases. I don't want to liquidate all the pieces, but you could see like here, here, here. There could be some situation where white is better. Let's say, if we're able to keep a certain amount of pieces on the board, and just Catalan also kind of appropriate here as well. Maybe we're still better. So this is my game with move 11. Majority of players play queen e2 now, which is a normal move, but I felt that rook e8, I didn't like this. You know what I mean? I didn't like this. Shinkovich, Enquist, draw. Jan Krzysztof Duda lost when he was 2200 with black, but I'm down with rook e8. That move hasn't lost. Shinkovich Peter, Hungarian chess. Rook e8 is very solid. That's the thing that I don't like about queen e2. It may be too late. So, bishop e1, the Acer mate. We're trying to set up the Acer mate. Good old Mikhail Kopylov. Charlie Hurtan had a story about him. in a very old trip of mine, published in Chess Chow. Good old Mikhail was up all night. That's an old story. Guys have no idea what I'm talking about. I talk in riddles. Old chess adventures. So, rook e8, and now we're back to Burmakin territory. See, Burmakin and I started to play like each other after enough blackjack sessions. No, this is an old game from '93, before I knew Vlad. But it's very natural. White sets up Pillsbury bind, and my rook's still on f1. If I can play f4, we have ideal Pillsbury position. The question is, can you take? And if you can take, then it's a bad move. What are my other options here? The other option is setting up something on the Astermate diagonal. But obviously black's thinking about knight e4. If I play like queen d3, he's in my face. Now what do? Takes. Not so clear, is it? Actually. Maybe this is good for white. Takes. Queen e4. Bishop takes h4. Check. King f8. I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on here. Check. King e7. Mommy, can I get a take back? Queen g7. Bishop f6. Queen h6. 3 pawns for a piece. Alright. This is very, very weird. For example. So that was like 2 beyond me. Vlad played knight e5. Black takes. Takes. And now Boris played knight d7. Whereas move 11 played knight e4. Obviously knight e4 is more active. Knight d7, and then Vlad played bishop g3. Vlad's an impressive player. He has an extremely dry style, and managed to get to 2600 with an extremely, almost risk-free, disgustingly safe style. Not easy to do that. Very good endgame technique. He makes Schieberspieler look like a wild man. D takes e5, knight e4, bishop e7, queen e7, f4. You know how hard it is to get to 2600 when you never take risks? I mean, that's not easy to do. That's seriously hard to do. f4. And this is this game, I can't remember even playing this. So why don't you exchange pieces here? I don't understand move 11's move. He played knight c5. This is a very old game. That looks strange. What about f5? Is that absurd? I have a half out of 2 against Vlad. I learned my lesson the first time. The first game I played knight f3, d5, b3 against him. He beat me with bishop g4. But the second time I was ready for him. Very careful. Knight c5. Yeah, I don't understand this move 11. You have like less space and you're avoiding exchanges of pieces. Can you just crack my structure with f6? You're going to get mated. Getting mated is a bad idea. This is obviously insanely dangerous. Okay. There is f5, which is very messy, but possible. Wow. Stockfish was going nuts for a second. It said that black was just lost, but it's not so clear. Apparently white's clearly better after g4. That's not an easy move to play. Bermakin plays the a6 Slav. Yeah, it fits his style. He's extremely solid. Most people who are extremely solid can't really get beyond like 25-20. But somehow he managed to get up to 2600 plus. I always thought it was kind of amazing, actually. Against me, he played d4, knight f6, g3. That was typical. Queen e7, f4, knight c5. Yeah, I don't like this move. I mean, obviously I have f5, right? But it's going to be very complicated if I play that. I forgot about this game. Are you sure this was my game? Move 11 was 18-15. What is this move 11 from like 10 years ago? Rook f3. I forgot about this. I was playing better back then. What is this, our first simul game or something? I can't quite break through. You know, h6, I couldn't get there. And eventually won the c6 pawn. So I guess it would be better to play bishop e7. Drop this one. If you're going to lose a pawn, best not to destroy your structure, I guess. For example, like bishop e7, queen a7. So queen c6 is a mistake according to the engine? Wow, that's crazy. So my queen is trapped. I don't remember this game. It's just too long ago. I wouldn't take that pawn unless I was pretty confident it was safe. But I'm sure I wasn't 100% sure at the time. Wow. So apparently it's a sound sacrifice. Wow. My whole idea with queen d4 was wrong. No. Queen d4 is best move according to the engine, or rook g3. It was hard to break him down. Now I had to play queen d2, and I was afraid of d4. I can tell you right now. I don't like the look of this. What is this? This is bad, man. Dude, I don't know what Stockfish 13 is smoking, but that's not a possibility. Are you serious? It was actually looking at queen d2. I can't do that. Now, white's better, but not that much. So I have to take the pawn, bishop d7. I vaguely remember this. I just wanted to be safe. Was this a simul game? Yeah. Maybe not. It wasn't a simul game. No, it was blitz. 10 plus 2? Man, this is an old game. 10 plus 2. Queen d6, queen d6. When was this played? 2018. So at this point, I'm up a pawn. The quote of the year. But move 11 has the pressure on e4. I mean, as long as the pressure is on e4 with the open files, it's not so easy. I'm thinking here, you know, he's not necessarily lost. Viewer tournament. He's not necessarily lost. I did the 10 plus 2 viewer tournament. Oh no, it's 5 plus 2. 5 plus 2. Truly long ago. Here, I went for f5. Yeah, my rook is like subjugated to the side of the board. You've separated him from the pack. This rook is just cut off. He wants to play with the other children, but he's not allowed. It's so sad. If only I play e4, he can join the group. But then it's just like snarfing this pawn on e4, and we can just shake hands and agree to a draw. So for my rook to play in the game, I had to play f5. You went for an exchange here. Now, I took with the knight. I wonder about bishop takes. I chose to take with the knight. It's a tough call. You were in time pressure. I wouldn't overanalyze it. This is probably a draw. It looks like a standard draw rook endgame. All rook endgames are a draw. Just another example. Typical rook endgame, one pawn is not enough to win. You've separated my rook from the flock. Good job defending the young move 11. I do have penetration with rook c7, but I think you have some counterplay. So what about rook takes? Stockfish was suggesting queen e2, and black was like clearly better after d4. Even I saw that in a game I played 3 years ago, and I saw immediately what I was thinking. I didn't want to allow d4. But why doesn't black play rook takes? I guess rook f3. This is serious now. There's chances you can lose here. But what about the game? I played that. Why did I play that? Oh man. I mean, I guess it was just time pressure. So I would normally just eat this pawn. You're probably lost now. Do you have enough counterplay? What are you going to do? Where do you go? King f6? King h6? Where are you supposed to go? King h6. The oracle has spoken. 2 pawns down. Not the first rook game ever drawn 2 pawns down, I guess. Because the rook is separated from the flock. You have h4. So it's possible this is still a draw, even 2 pawns down. That's messed up, but very possible. But only this move apparently, not rook d2. You have to play rook d1 check. King h2, rook c4. You got threats of h4, rook down, and mate. Study like endgame. Move 11, the young move 11 wasn't up to the task. Rook c2, though, I decided to just prevent any counterplay. Okay, that was a safe move by me. Maybe I was smart to do that. I didn't want to allow him counterplay, but I'm only up 1 pawn in what is likely a draw. I don't think this is a win, man. I mean, I have a passed e pawn, which is a very limited value. I feel like the only way to win was to go for it with rook c7. I played it very close to the vest here. Rook c2, rook d e6. Now I went check. Now I took the pawn. And now you played h4 check. And you're 2 pawns down. So you have to play rook takes. This may be a draw, right? This is like a standard position. Looks pretty standard to me. I'm voting for draw here. Computer doesn't agree though. Apparently I'm winning with rook a6. Tactical idea, very direct, of a4, a5. How does this win? Wow. Computer is claiming this is a win. That's pretty shocking. Holy crap. This is like unbelievable. Why would you play king e7? You have to stay active. King f5, b4. And you're screwed because your rook is on a passive square. That's pretty amazing. You would think that, man, you would think that black would have chances to hold this endgame. Wow. So that's probably lost. I'm surprised though. This is 2 pawns down. It should be a win. Yeah, black's rook is in the wrong position in an analysis line. The rook is in a passive position sideways. You want to have the rook more active. I still am kind of shocked this is totally lost. Alright, next game. Move 11, good job. Losing that possibly holdable endgame. We've got Princess Chess against Super Dello. This is a long game. Princess Chess is trolling me with extremely long endgame. I'm going to go through this a little quickly because it is 51 moves. And Mr. Angelo Young, who's the master technician, will just go to like the important points in this game. I'm not going to go over it, extensively. But the important points in the opening, for example, critical points in the ender game, c4, knight c6, knight f3, knight f6, knight c3, and Angelo misplays this. I mean, this is surprising. Dude should know not to play e6 here. This is like common knowledge that this variation is bad for black. Maybe he just wanted to give you a chance. He's a nice guy. Not an opening specialist, though. Definitely. Excellent technical player. We only played once. It was a draw. I think that was an exchange Slav, but he did something weird to get me to play the exchange Slav. e6, c5. Princess Chess did this correctly. Princess Chess, you might want to play cd also. Yeah, black's piece is just screwed. This variation, for example, if you play knight f6, knight c3, e6, like Karpov used to play e6. If you have the knight on b8, it's not so bad. Because if white tries to play stuff, this is like mainline stuff. c5 is old school. Black can play b6 and gain counterplay. But there's no problem. Like bishop e5 check, you can just meet with bishop d7. The point is, the knight is back on b8. But in the game continuation, after c5, black can't really break with b6. Lacks counterplay. This is just known to be bad for black. It's extremely passive and bad. I've had a number of games on the stream. So it's just like Nimzovich-y control of e5 gives white a huge advantage. Castle. Now, so Princess Chess takes on c6. I see there's some players who have done this, but the question is, well, why do you have to take on? I think I've played rook e1. Why necessarily take? One problem is this. I have played bishop g5 in the past, but black has knight e4. There's a Yu Yang game here. But I'm not certain this helps, honestly. I've kind of moved away from the whole bishop g5. I think this is a more constructive move, preventing knight e4. If I have to play this tomorrow, I would play rook e1. Preventing knight e4, black doesn't have any counterplay. The number one move for black here is a6, man. Look at that. That's horrible. Hort play this position for black. It's terrible for black. Now b6 is weak. I've had games like this. Bishop takes c6, bishop c6. White is just better, So she can get an improved version. She voluntarily trades on c6. And it's still much better for white. Bishop takes. Now, I don't know. Is it b4 or should we play like knight e5 first? I'm not really certain what white's best move is. Anyway, I don't want to spend too much time on this. Razvan is very cool. I do serious analysis once a lifetime. No, I'm just kidding. Thanks for joining us. Knight e5 is a strong move. You can see there's some games with that. You can't go wrong with knight e5. The question with b4, probably good too. And then check out how Angelo defends this with black. I think his mom like put him to bed with like Steinitz's games in his bed. Like they tucked it under his pillow when he went to sleep or something when he was a little kid, because it's not normal to play like this. This guy is insane. Like what a great like defensive player, honestly. When I saw this, I was like, dude is out of his mind. He is seriously this player understands how to defend with black. It's not a good position, but if anybody can defend it, I guess Angelo can defend this. This is crazy. Bishop e8. Making way for knight d7. White is better, but the bishop pops out a la Steinitz. Dude, it looks like an old World Championship game from the early 1900s or even older. So Princess Chess is like, okay, I have a queenside majority. It's about the pawn majorities, but it's also about, I think, the minor pieces are better. But Angelo's a tough defender. Bishop e8 is an amazing move. He got this from Steinitz. But I think here, rook e1, for example. He can break now, though. This is live. b6, a5. You got to be a special kind of player to be able to play like that with black, though. Most people wouldn't be able to do this. So Princess Chess played queen d3. I'm concerned about our rook not being protected. If black start breaking on the queen side. That's called a protected pass pawn. Okay, let's put it this way. If Angelo was playing another titled player, he would be kind of like fighting for a draw in this position. But I guess he's used to that. All right. Now king h8. White is better. Rook fc1. Okay. Check it out. This guy hasn't studied like Steinitz's games. I don't know what he studied because this is just insane, man. I mean, all the pieces on the back rank reorganizing to defend. And now Princess Chess just goes with knight b5. Logical. Why not? I don't have any problem with the way you played this. Razvan, no, I'm just taking subscriber submissions, and we're sold out. We're almost done. I have just one more game. I do 10 games a week, and you have to be a subscriber to the stream, submit the game at least by the beginning of the stream. Unfortunately, I can't stay sober long enough to do another game. So we have knight b5, ab5, ab4, sorry, b takes c. Angelo simplifies, trading everything down, and then f6. I mean, this is insane, dude. Like, check it out. What do you call this? The pieces are inside a unit. The unit, it's like a defensive unit. It's unbelievable. And now check out the bishop. Lasker said pieces that are blocked in, when they come out, they're very powerful. It's tribute to Angelo Young's like defensive skills. I mean, white has space advantage. Protected passer on c5. White should be slightly better. But all of a sudden, what about the white squares? What about this? What about e4? What's going to happen? So she plays knight d6, kind of drifting. Bishop g6. Here, I didn't know about where to put the queen, but you want to attack e6, right? Okay. Now, queen d7. This looks good. What's our move? It's unbelievable. Rook e1. I mean, I didn't feel like white missed anything here. Maybe you did. Maybe you have c6. But that rook is like the missing link. If queen c6, queen e6, threatening knight f7, I mean, just this or something. White's worse. White's probably worse. It's just unbelievable. Here. No, you're not worse. Wow. So she could have done this and maintained an equal position. But, you don't really want to give up your strong protected pass pawn on c5. So rook e1. And then I was like, okay, white's better, white's better, white's better. Takes. Are you serious? Bishop takes and rook e8. It's the stone wall. Unbelievable defense by black. I mean, this guy is an IM. There's no way like an average player can play like this. He has an unusual style. Most people aren't so good in defense. But his endgame technique, positional style, makes it very hard for people to beat him. Now, what do? You've dead-ended on e6. White just simply has to accept that, I guess. It's probably a draw. And be careful. But what about the back rank? You know, we don't want to get back ranked. So I don't know, h3. h3, knight h6, g4. Knight f7. Bishop g3. Something like this. Bishop here. It's possible we're worse. You know what I mean? We can drift. It's possible to even drift into worse position. Probably not. f5, f3. Yeah, black has to be careful too. I feel like it's equal. Until a point. You know, where white goes too far. Rook a1, knight h6, threatening knight f5, and now this, and then white just lost their mind. Now, if you're careful here, I guess, with white, we bring the bishop, even bring the bishop back, it's knight e7. Maybe that's the move, bishop f4. Still, there's these annoying moves like bishop here. It's just equal. You know, you're not. It's not enough to win. It's just not enough to win. +1, an uncomfortable draw. Rook e8, rook a1 here, 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 and then she like lets him destroy the pawn structure. Asterbate, thank you. We got another gift sub. She lets him destroy the pawn structure, and now you better be careful. The bishop even guards the back rank. The bishop's stronger than the knight. The knight has no outpost. Now the knight needs to get to c5 somehow. How does he get to c5? Boom, boom. But we'll get back rank mated. So we have to prevent back rank mate and get our knight to c5. Against, you know, Wilhelm Steinitz. What about this rook in game? Pretty ugly. And now f4 is really bad. Frankly, I don't know. You take your chances here, I guess. Take the bishop. I would take my chances with that ending. You might be able to hold this. Yeah, rook takes, king takes. Not an easy endgame to draw, but you have to accept now that your knight is no longer better than that bishop. It's just a fallacy. After f4, bishop e4, it's over. Here, a very nice game by Angelo. You know, he's just brutal. Okay, so you reach this endgame, right? Maybe this is a draw, actually. Maybe you didn't make a mistake. Maybe this is still a draw. But I mean, can you draw this? Draw me a draw. White has to get the king to the center on e3 quickly. Knight e1 is domination. Knight h4 is domination. So you have to play this. I'm thinking like she's lost here. It's a beautiful endgame by Angelo. Could he have played e5 right away? Possibly. What about knight g4 now? Some kind of move. Knight g4, h5. After this, this. Is white lost? I'm thinking white is like lost here. Very few pawns left, but it's enough for black to win. Really beautiful game by black. I don't see how you save this. This king is too good. He's just a freaking genius. I don't understand, you know, how you save this position. It's just too late. I don't believe this can be drawn. I really don't. It's possible. It looks really tough. But with like no time, forget about it. You need a solid blockade. Okay, g4 has got to be a mistake. Putting your pawn on a white square. The problem is the pawn's coming down. I mean, it's just a matter of time. What are you going to do? I don't understand how to hold this. I don't see it. You got no blockade. It's over. Hopeless. It is hopeless. All right, great game by Angelo. No shame in losing that, but it probably was holdable in a rook endgame very unpleasantly. Instructive game. The last game for today is Tezek against... Our last game is Tezek against Mikasinski. All right. FM Mikasinski, 2661. What is this time control? 5-0. A strong blitz player. What is this, a simul or a blitz game? You said it was a simul. It's a blitz simul. That was a great game, though. Angela Young must have studied every game of Wilhelm Steinitz. Alright, e4, c5, knight c3. Grand Prix attack with d6. Why would black want to play d6 in this position? What's the point, exactly? I'm having a hard time understanding d6. I understand d6 here, but I don't understand knight c6, f4, d6. Why would anybody want to play that move? This doesn't make sense, you know? Yeah, I mean, there's several good setups, of course. g6, e6, no, even a6. But d6 has no independent value. What does d6 do? You're playing d6 unnecessarily. Okay, he's just playing blitz, probably not thinking about it. Knight f3, g6, and then bishop e5, and now he has to play bishop d7. By the way, you know, you should know that bishop c4 is okay. Not good if he hasn't played d6, but bishop c4 is considered to be okay here. Whereas in this position, for example, g6, knight f3, bishop g7, bishop c4 isn't considered, it's not considered dangerous. But if black has played d6, that's why these Najdorf guys play like d6 to keep the Najdorf alive. But after f4, Gelfand and all these people, you know, they're going to have to play a slightly inferior version of the Grand Prix attack after knight f3. Bishop c4. Bishop c4 becomes legit if black is going to play the move... Sorry, black is going to play the move d6. Bishop c4 is a legit variation now, where it isn't really without d6. So he's making a very, you know, inaccurate move order there. Bishop e5, bishop d7, d3, bishop g7, castle. I play this with both colors. You know, this move is not so stupid. You see here, there's even a game with Turazaga. That's an old one. It's not that crazy to play bishop takes c6 unprovoked, honestly. I don't really have a problem with that. Castles, and then knight d4. So he avoids the bishop for knight exchange. And now we've got some real games. Defermian playing the black side of Najdorf in 1984, a Grand Prix attack against Hort. 84. Balou versus Oparin, Javier. Bunch of games. Yeah, this is a smart move by him. Avoiding the bishop takes knight exchange. Knight d4 is reasonable. You could probably play a4 now. Was played by Benassian. a4 is not a bad move. You don't mind this exchange. I was recommending this in the other line. It's interesting. Takes, 92. So this has actually been played. Knight 92 feels kind of passive for white. So I would assume knight takes d4. This is sort of a weird move. Most players would take with the pawn. So this is what I would expect would be like the main continuation. Take 92. Something similar to our game. Obviously a little different. Tezek, where your knight doesn't really want to get trapped on g3. By the way, against you in our game, I forgot I'm supposed to play h5. In that variation you played against me. H5 might be better than what I did in our game from the stream. Bishop takes d4 check. No, this is not the game. So knight e2. He trades, and it's like, okay. Now black needs to develop a piece. E6 allows f5 here. So the problem with this setup is that normally you're aiming for a kingside attack in the closed Sicilian, but with so many pieces exchanged, it's hard for you to have like a really powerful kingside attack now. I would estimate the position is about equal. Now I don't know what to do. I guess f5 is your move. Why not f5? If he takes that, you're like going on tilt attack. I've lost a lot of games like this with black. I don't think he can take, man. I mean, this is very, very dangerous for black. Knight h4, take a second pawn, knight f5. I don't know. I don't know if I recommend this. The computer says it's okay for black, but it looks a little scary. That's what I would do if I were you. It's not the safest approach. You have lots of safe moves. Rook b1, getting off the diagonal. This sort of routine, like developing move, bishop d2. You don't have the standard plan of queen h4, so you played this. Yeah, I don't blame him for playing what he played. He went for the queen exchange. That's a sensible thing to do. He just wants to be careful. Draw? But wow, this d5 was not expected. I'm talking like the people from the Expanse now. D5, yeah, he went for it. Good for you. Screw him, man. He had his chance to like force a draw. Yeah, this is a dangerous move, f5. Anyways, I don't like d5 for him. He didn't want to repeat. It is a scary position. Maybe he has something better here. Though his queen is misplaced. It's hard to recommend something better. He could do something like queen h5, but you know, you have to argue this queen is in a very vulnerable position where he could get trapped. He obviously isn't comfortable there. He's a good player if he's 2660 in blitz, and he has common sense, but it looks like this, he was getting desperate to play for a win. So f5 is strong. It looks dangerous. You've got bishop h6, bishop g5. Taking is dangerous for black. Can he attack the e4 pawn? He opens it up. Can he attack like e4 or something with queen c6? What about queen b7? Is he too slow here? Trying to put pressure on your central pawn before your rook gets in. I mean, obviously you have attacking chances with like e5 now. It looks kind of scary. It really looks scary for him. I am concerned about black's health in this position. So likely he's in danger here. Let's ask a question. What about pawn takes? Yeah. Yeah, I was looking at bishop h6 too. You're threatening queen g5, which is kind of unpleasant. I was assuming bishop h6. It's not so clear. Stockfish 13 has it at equal. Or close to equal. Dude needs to do something. Because this is not good. You're about to, like, begin a very strong attack. I think he has to do it, though. I was right, you know. He just plays like a routine move. But your attack is getting stronger. My point was, like, I don't think he has time to just leave the status quo. I've lost a lot of games with black in this type of position. I know how it happens. You know, this sort of settles in there. The rook d8 is nice, but it doesn't do anything. And your attack is building now. But what can he do here? Knight g4? I mean, he has to try like knight g4. What do you want him to play? This knight g5? Maybe your attack isn't fast enough. Okay. Knight e4. He takes the pawn. Rook e1. I was expecting this. How about that? This would be funny. The game over or not? Because you have this, 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 and then this. Goodbye. You have hate mail. Queen f5. Just game over. Suddenly white is just lost. That would be a very rude awakening for you. I don't know, maybe I have something here. Unfortunately, it's not clear. Takes. And you play takes. Now he can take either way. I mean, structurally, it's safer to take this way. But I guess now you're looking at serious threats. Now you're really threatening rook takes e4. And there won't be any defense. Okay, I mean, he can play this, this, and then go back. And now on knight g5, he might have some kind of miraculous. He might have some kind of miraculous defense. Back rank, you know, it's still not over. It does look like he's in trouble though. Rook e7. You never know. This back rank is going to haunt you. For example, your back rank problem is going to be a big issue. So I'm not sure what's going on here. Queen e2 saves the day. Check out the variation. Queen e2, rook e7, queen d1 is black's best move. Coming back here. So he takes with the f pawn, naturally activating the f8 rook. And now you played this, and you just went back. Looks okay. Knight g5, and you're threatening knight e6. Among no other threats. There is no other threats. Rook takes f6 is not a threat. He's got the lateral dragon defense. You're not threatening this. But he blundered mate with knight g4. Double exclamation point. Knight g4 mate. So seriously, you're threatening knight e6 here. Does he have a defense to that? I didn't see a defense to that offhand. There is king h8, the ugly king h8. That doesn't defend it. Well, I think your opponent like freaked out because he couldn't see a defense to knight e6, probably. it's a normal reaction to play a crazy losing move when you don't see a threat defense to e6. No, I mean, I think you're probably winning here. Barring one possibility, right? No, I mean, the situation just melted for black. He probably should have taken the other way, ironically. Probably HG. Wow. Okay, here's some other moves. They're both possible. So HG, the point is here, he has this. The queen d2 is going to save him. However, here, after rook e1, knight f6, knight g5, he no longer has queen e2 because this is like devastating. The devastating g7, it's over. No, I mean, he just didn't see a defense to e6, so he freaked out. It's the oasis, the mirage in the desert effect, where you're like thinking and thinking, like, gotta have a defense, I gotta have a defense, I gotta have, oh, that's the defense, and then you just like blunder made in one. It's a common psychological thing. He has to lose the exchange here. Maybe he can hang on somehow. How can he lose the exchange? Maybe king h8? Just for example, let's say king h8. He's got a pawn for the exchange already. Knight e6. And now mate. So you have to play a rook somewhere. Let's say rook f7. Then you take the exchange. And you've got to, you know, you're probably winning here actually. You're just up the exchange for a pawn. So, objectively, it looks like he had reason to freak out. Wow, he had a defense, which I didn't see it. He has e5. I'm sorry, it's just late. I did not see it. Yeah, he just has e5. It's ridiculous. Unbelievable. It cuts you off from e6. Defends laterally. It's a weird move. I didn't see it either. I mean, it's funny. Like, you play knight g5, you can't play e6 because of knight e6. But e5 works. It's like an optical illusion. Yeah, that's a funny game. So, anyway, congratulations. You created enough problems that he blundered and lost. Still a good victory. Thanks, everybody, for joining me and for the support in the today's hype train. All of the regulars, Morales, Mr. Slowhand, Yabatis, we've got Move 11, Princess Chess, Bob, Tezik, everyone, thank you for joining me and for sharing your games. We're going to be back tomorrow morning. I would have missed e5 too. It's just a weird move you're not really thinking about. I wouldn't have blundered mate in one though. I would have just like lost the exchange and tried to defend down the exchange. Thank you guys. Thank you Cooking Rooks as well, who didn't share a game today. Next week we expect a game. Alright guys and girls, thank you for sharing. We'll be back tomorrow morning with Blitz. My pleasure to do the stream. Lots of support from everyone. Very much appreciated. We'll see you for the hype train tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. CEST, and also Blitz challenges. Also Sunday, we've got the weekly Simul, our flagship event, Sunday nights at 6:30 CET. Ooh. Yeah, it's late for me, guys. I gotta go. Already, only after 4 hours. What is it? How long have I been streaming? 3.5 hours. I will see you guys later. No longer than that. My pleasure, guys. I'm going to get to bed, and I got to do a stream in the morning tomorrow. So we'll see you then. Thanks to Mr. Coffee. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. It's been my pleasure. I will see you all tomorrow morning. Bye. Bye.